Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Tuesday, March 8th Board of County Commissioner meeting. Is Rachel Fitzpatrick here for our vacation? Rachel Fitzpatrick? Commissioner Pritchett, I hate to put you on the spot.
I'd be glad to. If y'all would bow your heads. Lord God, we come before you tonight. We ask for your wisdom, and we ask for a wonderful spirit of communication here tonight, Lord Jesus, that we would just have good direction on what to do in leading forth with the county and having them to prosper and to be healthy and to be blessed. In your name, Jesus, amen.
Amen. Thank you. All right, and with that, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Commissioner Smith.
Please rise to join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, moving on to consent. Commissioners, do you have anything you want pulled?
F14, please.
F16, 19, 20, and 21.
Okay, hold on. F4. Oh, we had a resolution. Okay, can we do the resolution first? I apologize.
Absolutely.
Sorry, guys. I missed it in all my scribbles. Resolution acknowledging women in construction. Kurt Smith. Sorry. Got ahead of everybody.
Well, we got a lot to cover.
I know.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Katie Howick and Julie Hood.
16, 19, 20, 21.
Good evening. I'm going to read this and then I'm going to give you the floor. Okay, good deal. Whereas the Space Coast chapter has distinguished itself for 25 years as the voice of women in construction in Brevard County. Whereas the work done by the Space Coast chapter has benefited Brevard County through community development and educational programs. And whereas the Space Coast chapter has unceasingly promoted the employment and advance of women in the construction industry. Whereas the construction community, represented by Space Coast chapter, has been a driving force in fostering community development through renovation and beautification projects, promotion of skilled trades careers, and a positive vision of the future. And whereas the Space Coast chapter has sought to achieve successful results for Brevard County and surrounding areas in a cooperative spirit with other organizations. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida do hereby recognize the Space Coast chapter and its many dedicated volunteers for its steadfast work on behalf and support of women in construction, and do proudly proclaim the week of March 6th through 12th, 2022 as Women in Construction Week, and encourage our citizens to congratulate the organization on its many accomplishments. Done, ordered, and adopted in regular session this 8th day of March 2022. Madam Chair, I propose that we accept this resolution.
Motion by Commissioner Smith.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lober. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Awesome, thank you. All right, good evening. My name is Kate Howick of Danella Engineering and Construction, and joining me here is Julie Hood of CMEX. And we represent the local chapter of National Association of Women in Construction. While women make up almost half of the total workforce in the U.S., we only account for about 11% of the total population within our industry. So NAWIC provides us with a platform to collaborate with like-minded professionals across the trades and continue to advocate for women within the industry and encourage the next generation of young women in construction to seek out new opportunities. NAWIC hosts over 100 chapters and upwards of 4,000 members across the U.S., and we are all celebrating WIC Week 2022 in many different ways. We are truly honored on a day intended to celebrate women across the globe that our Brevard County Commission has taken a moment to recognize the women who work locally to build a better Brevard County. Thank you, Commissioner Smith, and your exceptional staff for sponsoring our organization with this resolution. Your support is instrumental in our continued growth and outreach efforts within the communities that we serve. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now moving on to F for real this time. All right, so far I have F14, 16, 19, 20, and 21. Commissioner Tobias?
Can you, Madam Chair, will you please add in 17, 18 to that list?
All right, and I have to recuse myself from voting on F13, and it's not pulled, so just note the record that F13 I will not be voting on, and I'll sign the form, the required form for that. I also want to pull F15 because I think it's important. So I'll entertain a motion with the removal of 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and my recusal from F13. We're not approving much, but a motion by Commissioner Pritchett.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tobias. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, so starting down the list, F14, Commissioner Lober.
Got one real concern with respect to this. If you look on the second page of the BCC policy, the red line copy, at the very bottom of that second page, it talks about under item D as in Delta, sub 1, which advisory board members have to submit financial disclosures. I'm not comfortable removing the disclosure requirement from boards. I have no problem adding boards if that's the desire of this board to require disclosures from those additional boards, but I'm simply not comfortable with that. So I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve this, but the modification being, the one modification being, instead of striking out under, on the second page, big D sub 1, any appointed member of an advisory body with land planning, zoning, or natural resource responsibilities, I'd like to keep that in. And I would also just say at that point where the strike through ends, including the Planning and Zoning Board, Board of Adjustment, Merritt Island Redevelopment Agency, and North Brevard Economic Development Zone. But otherwise, I'm comfortable with it. That's the motion.
Okay, I have a card. Nathan Slusher.
Good evening, Nathan Slusher, 860 Allendale Street in Titusville. Madam Chair, if you'll allow me, I would like to ask legal a question for clarification.
Okay, if legal's comfortable answering it, I don't have a problem with that.
So when I look at D1 and D3, the same subsections he just referred, my question is, if this were to pass as the clear copy shows, would that excuse any advisory body, or any member sitting on an advisory body, minus the 4 listed, from filling out financial disclosures if they receive money from the county? Or do we have another law that puts that check in place?
So the intent was to clarify what boards are currently filing these forms. And so if the clean copy is adopted, it would be recognizing what we currently are doing. We're requiring the Planning and Zoning Board, Board of Adjustment, the Merritt Island Redevelopment Agency, and North Brevard Economic Development Zone to actually file these forms. Those are the 4 bodies that are currently doing it. So we were just seeking clarification, because as it is right now, it's any advisory body with land planning, zoning, or natural resources responsibilities, and that wasn't very clear as to which advisory boards the board was seeking to have file these disclosures. So we wanted clarity. And right now, the 4 that are doing it are these 4 boards.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate it.
This is actually, yes, this would just be implementing and clarifying what we actually are doing right now. This is exactly what the county is doing.
Thank you. I would greatly ask that if any member of any board is advising the commission to send money, and if they own a company or if they work for a company that is receiving money on any of our 90 boards, I think we discussed last time, should be filling out a financial disclosure. And that is, of my opinion, I don't believe anyone sitting on an advisory board should be getting the money without filling that out. So thank you. I greatly appreciate the clarification on that.
Okay. Commissioner Lober?
Just real briefly, I understand what Abby's saying as far as the boards that are currently doing it, but The fact is, if we have a requirement and we change it in the way that was suggested as it's written in the agenda item, we're removing the requirement. That's what it functions to do. We talk about accountability and public trust. This is a bad move. So my motion stands. Hopefully I'll get a second, and hopefully it'll pass.
Ms. Joranby, does it change, like Commissioner Lober suggested?
It potentially would change it. So right now, the 4 boards that are filing it are these 4 boards, and it's based off of our Florida Statute 112.3145. So that statute clearly says what boards have to have a disclosure of financial interest, the form that they are required to fill out. And it does provide that a local government board can include additional boards other than what are statutorily required. And so in this instance, it appears that that was the intent by this BOCC, but it's just not clear what boards are doing it. So right now, what we were trying to do is get clarification. These are the 4 that are actually filing these forms as the county's practice right now. So we just wanted to clarify the ones that we actually wanted. So instead of having this very broad language and not really designating which boards, out of all the boards we have, are filing these forms.
Did you have concerns that some boards that aren't should be? I guess is my question.
I don't want to do anything that even stands to potentially remove a layer of added transparency. And frankly, as was mentioned, we have something like 80 boards. We've got dozens and dozens of boards. I don't know that this wouldn't necessarily rope in additional boards beyond those 4 that are named, and it makes me very uncomfortable striking language that's more inclusive with respect to requiring disclosures from more individuals that are serving on there. I have no problem with the 4 being listed. If you want to put that stricken through language and say including, but not necessarily limited to, the Planning and Zoning Board and the other boards, God bless, I'll support it all day and night, but I just am not comfortable voting to remove that, because that may serve to remove an obligation that was intended by the folks that drafted this when that language was first put in place.
Yeah, I just don't know of other boards that beyond that list that are doing it, so I don't know that any would be excluded. And I just don't want to make it more ambiguous. Commissioner Pritchett?
Are the other boards required to do it now?
Well, that is the clarity we're seeking from a staff level. Is it just says any board, any advisory body with land planning, zoning, or natural resources responsibilities. So currently, I can tell you the 4 are doing it. Are listed on the proposal.
And those are the ones making money decisions, basically.
Essentially, yes. They have some type of sovereign authority that's been granted to them to make final decisions. Like the Board of Adjustment grants the variances. Right. So you've given your sovereign authority to them. So that's why, at that point, when we saw this language, we thought if we can seek some clarity from the board as to what advisory boards out of all of them really fall into that category.
Okay. Quick question. If somebody does have a conflict of interest, let's say they work for a business, they would have to disclose that, correct?
Correct. They should be disclosing those conflicts and filing a Form 8B.
Okay.
Commissioner Lober?
And I think that's kind of the concern, is if you listen to the operative language, should be, doesn't mean that they will be doing it if they don't belong to one of the specified boards. The way that it's listed currently, it's more all-encompassing, or more encompassing, I should say. If you're not comfortable, or if you think what I've suggested tonight is too ambiguous, I would just ask you to perhaps, instead of voting to approve it, just table it for a meeting, continue it out. I'll bring some proposed language that is certainly much more specific than what I proposed on the fly this evening. But it's a real concern to me. So I would just ask folks to give it one more meeting. I'll put it on the agenda for the subsequent meeting this evening. Pardon me, I think it's on the 22nd, is it? Is that right? The 22nd? I'll put something on for the 22nd that includes a little better language with some specificity with respect to this, if that's okay. So if you want, I'll withdraw my motion and instead move the table this to the 22nd.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Lober to table this item. Commissioner Pritchett?
Yeah, Commissioner Lober, if I agree to that, what I would like for you to do is to bring forward the boards that you think could be a conflict. Okay. Because like the Park and Rec boards, it doesn't make sense to me. So there's some that I think it's a little bit of overkill. And so I think if we just try to figure out what boards you have a concern with next time, if you bring that, the ones that I had concern with are having to. So I think if you brought that up, it would help me.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm fine tabling for a meeting.
Is that a second?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, second by Commissioner Pritchett. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Oh my gosh, Ms. Sullivan had a card as well. I just saw it now because you handed it in after we started talking about the item. So, I mean, I'll give you your 3 minutes if you like it. I apologize. Okay. I apologize, Ms. Sullivan. Try to get it in before we start talking and it won't mess us up. I didn't do it on purpose, I promise. Okay. Item F15. This had to be pulled. So you need to come on up here. All of your people came to see you. We couldn't just approve it on consent because it just minimizes this awesome. I'm speechless. I don't know what to say. So tell me, how excited are you to run this department?
I'm very excited.
I just wanted to say congratulations. I am sorry because I could see how red your face is. I don't want to embarrass you.
I better get used to it, right?
But this should be very telling by the amount of people that came to the meeting tonight to suffer through just the beginning of one of our meetings just to celebrate you. And I just want to say congratulations. I look forward to working with you. I don't know if Commission has a few words of encouragement for you, but thank you. Thank you for stepping up. I mean, I'm very excited. I know you have good support behind you, and I know you have good leadership in both your guys and your young women that work for you, and I'm very excited.
Yeah, I would just like to say Godspeed and congratulations.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lober?
I just want to say what I conveyed to you privately earlier, that savor these next few days, because they're probably the last days that you and the union are going to be on great terms. You may have a little bit of goodwill period, I understand, from some of the folks that have been here a lot longer than I have, but enjoy them.
Thank you.
Commissioner Pritchett?
And thank you for all you do and to your team. And it's nice to see people that are excited to have you as well. It speaks volumes about your leadership, sir. I'm looking forward to seeing what you bring to the table here. And I hope in another year you're still excited.
Yes, ma'am.
Move to approve.
I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Lober, second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Commission. Thank you, Mr. Abate, the County Manager. Thank you, Colonel Wallace, for allowing me to lead such a great group of men and women that serve our community daily. I'm truly thankful and humbled and honored to work with you all, and I look forward to the future. Thank you.
I didn't mean to embarrass you. I apologize for that.
That's all right. It won't be the
Thanks.
last time.
You came up, so the hard part's over. Thank you again. All right. Item F16.
Can I do those with the other three together when we get to the bill folder? Would that be
Okay.
all right, ma'am?
I think so. You want to do, I'm sorry.
I want to do 16, 19, 20, 21 together if you're good with that, ma'am. It's all the same subject.
Okay, I don't know if anybody else has anything they want to say on them, though.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about them though. but I just
Okay,
thought if we did
Commissioner Pritchett wanted to suggest doing items 16, 19, 20, and 21 together.
I have no objection.
If the board is amicable to that, or,
Whatever y'all
I'm not
want.
sure. Commissioner Tobias?
I'll do them now.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm sorry I had these separate.
I was gonna do them separate too, but
Yeah, I'm maybe different on some of these, so
Okay.
I'm more than willing to
I was
do
just
them, but
thinking
I'd
if
have
we
to
did
vote no.
17 and 18 first, and then I would do 16, and then 19, 20,
17 is
21.
not pulled. Or wait,
I think
17
Oh, I thought he just
I think
said
17.
Yeah,
I think 17 was pulled.
yes.
Whatever you want, Madam Chair. I'm game either way.
Okay, you want to talk about item F17 first? Because
Okay.
it's unrelated
Yes,
to the others?
yes, that's what I thought.
Okay, who pulled item F17?
I did, Madam Chair.
Okay. We're going to move on to that one.
Okay. Madam Chair?
Yes.
Thank you. This is concerning an appointment of an individual who has been in this, according to our website, since 2005. That would be a term limit times 2. I wanted to ask, because the commissioner and I had not, because of obviously sunshine, had advertised this position. I believe another commissioner suggested getting in contact with Mr. Walker, make sure that due diligence was done. The advertisement went out on that instead of, I don't know, a Facebook page or something like that. So that was my concern when it came to this individual, was the length of service being whatever, more than 16 years at this point.
The answer is
Commissioner
yes.
Smith.
Yes. Yes, I did advertise it, and I did have a very qualified person, and I weighed the two, and I know that this guy's been there for a long time, but he's brought an awful lot of talent and background and institutional knowledge with him. He's highly respected by the other people on the board, and in fact, like I said last time, he was elected to be the chair, and when I voted for this back in whatever, and we got the 5-0 vote when you brought this up, what, a year, 2 years ago, the reason I voted for it at that time was because we included a waiver, and the way I looked at it, the waiver gave the commissioner, the appointing commissioner, the ability to appoint someone based on talent as opposed to length of service. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm reappointing this guy. And if you guys turn him down, then I have someone that's worthwhile to replace him, but I think it would be a big mistake.
Madam Chair?
Okay.
Sorry, I appreciate the rationale. My question was just simple. Did you advertise this
Yes.
with Mr. Walker?
Yes, I spoke to Mr. Walker. I believe I spoke to him. My staff spoke to him.
Madam Chair?
Yes?
Sorry. May I ask Dawn a question?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, Mr. Walker. Was this advertised on the county website at large?
I know it was a discussion at a recent commission meeting, but I don't believe there was any follow-up where I was requested to post anything, so I have not put anything out.
Okay. Yeah, Madam Chair, as this was not advertised at large, as was suggested, not by me, but another commissioner, I can't support it at this time.
All right,
If I
Commissioner.
dropped the ball on that, I apologize, but I know that my staff did.
Okay, Commissioner Lober?
Just real briefly, I'm not going to drag you through the dirt on this, Commissioner Smith. I will say I would have preferred that you advertised it. I appreciate where Commissioner Tobias is coming from, but nonetheless, I'm still going to support it. To me, it's kind of two conflicting goals. One, deferring to the commissioner in whose district the appointment belongs or the issue happens to fall. That, to me, is more important than the term limit goal with respect to the advisory board. So I'm going to support it a little bit reluctantly, but I'm going to support it.
All right. I have to be consistent, even though, I appreciate where Commissioner Smith's coming from. I think term limits are important, at least when efforts are made. It's one thing, but if that was not advertised, I can't support it, because I know how hard we work to try to advertise for positions to replace people, and only when we can't have we ever suggested having them come back to the board, so I won't be able to support it. Sorry.
It's okay. That's why we have 5 people up here. We represent different opinions and different thoughts.
Commissioner Tobias?
Madam Chair? And it may be an oversight. It happens. Commissioner Smith, I imagine, has a lot going on. If this only needs, does it need 3 or 4 votes on this one? 3. Okay. If you have 3, if not, I'd be more than willing to table it until it was advertised on Mr. Walker. But it sounds like if you have 3 votes, you might want to go ahead. I'm just saying that if it was advertised and you got no viable candidates at that point, I would be more than willing to support it. But if you have the 3 votes now.
Well, let me just say I have mixed feelings, because I appreciate where you guys are coming from. And if we drop the ball, we drop the ball. So I would like to make a motion to approve, but if you feel better about it.
I second it.
You second it? Okay. Well, then let's just go ahead with it. Unless it would, if you guys would feel more comfortable for
You got
me.
the 3 votes.
Okay.
Whatever you'd like, Commissioner Smith.
Okay, let's go ahead with it then.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Smith, second by Commissioner Pritchett. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, oops. Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Motion passes 3-2. All right, so item F18. Okay, I don't recall who pulled this up.
Commissioner
Tobias? And I have a card as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to vote no on this one, and the primary issue I have with this is the potential for flooding that may arise sometime in the future. So that is my no vote, Madam Chair.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Pritchett, second by Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Lober?
I think Commissioner Pritchett, by making the motion, just answered my question. Since it's in her district, I just wanted to know that she was okay with it.
Okay, and I have one card. Scott Knox? Okay. All right. If no more discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-1. All right. Moving on to item F16.
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to just mention on these purchase cards, I guess we're going to do one at a time here, but I just wanted to thank Commissioner Tobias for putting these on the agenda, and that we're going to be moving these into bill folder from now on moving forward. So Commissioner Tobias, thank you for that, sir. And if there's no other comments, I'm going to make a motion to approve it.
Okay, I have a
Second.
motion by Commissioner Pritchett, second by Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Tobias?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate the recognition, but this was Commissioner Pritchett's great idea, and I guess I was just the first one to get it on the agenda. So thank you for bringing more sunshine to this process, and to avoid any type of public record requests. They're all there for free, and you're more than welcome to go through them at any juncture. But again, Madam Chair, great job, Commissioner Pritchett. Good idea. I wish I'd have thought of it.
Thank you, sir.
And I just appreciate you putting the entire thing on there because, my staff wasn't happy, but at least, we were able to locate all of ours and make sure that we got that as part of the record as well. So with no other discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Now, is that accepting of receipt of these items?
Yes.
Correct? Just for clarification?
Just receipt.
Just receipt?
Yes,
Okay.
Madam Chair, not approval for receipt.
All right.
Yeah.
Item F19.
Yes, ma'am. Same thing, Commissioner Lober. Thank you for bringing these forth quickly.
Sure.
I know we made some changes since you've made some changes, so, no big deal with that. I do have some questions, but I'm going to leave you the discretion if you want to answer them now or at the end when we start doing more stuff. Totally up to
However you
you.
want.
They're very soft questions, so.
Okay. Soft questions are good.
I have curious questions,
Yeah,
if
you got
you
it.
wouldn't mind. And on what you turned in, just a quick question, because I keep getting asked a couple of these. What is the 3D print jobs?
Oh, those are mounts for cameras for a nonprofit.
Okay, can you tell me which nonprofit?
I would prefer to do that offline if there's some way to do that.
No
without-
worries.
The concern is
That's
if it's
okay.
surveillance equipment, I
You
don't want
got
to
it.
highlight the fact that I can tell you the comptroller knows and even Florida Today knows, and I had the same conversation with them.
Okay, you're
I
fine.
told them with the understanding that they could call and verify it but not print it, to call it into attention.
Okay, no problem. Okay, another one that got my interest, nuts, washers, screws, and bolts.
Sure. We have a, actually, is Jeff here? Is it Bason Cox? Is that who we use for the sub work for the coax installs? We have in any event, we have a sub that does coax installs. If we buy the equipment, it doesn't get marked up, and they
Okay.
can do the install. So there's an antenna and coax that's going up at the Merritt Island Service Annex.
Okay.
And that's to essentially help mount that.
Okay, then another one that was kind of interesting, it looks like we're doing some plumbing, PVC fittings.
Yeah, we have two issues in the service, well, we have way more than two issues in the service annex. We've got two in my portion of it. We've got a hot water heater that leaks pretty badly, and we also have an issue with a dishwasher that's probably as old as I am that's dead, so it's related to that. And I think some of them may also have been used with respect to a remodel that was done when we had some folks move in upstairs when they had the walls open. But
Okay.
the two big ones in my office are the hot water heater, which is leaking like a sieve, or was leaking like a sieve, and then the dishwasher.
Okay, so you're kind of buying parts and you have somebody volunteering to come in to fix
Yeah,
it?
the thing is, if we get facilities to install it, they just charge us for the time.
Okay.
If we have an outside contractor do it, they mark up the parts and they charge us for time. So to the extent that we can avoid the markup, I'd rather avoid the markup.
Okay, and then I know you can't answer this as well, but you have the surveillance cameras?
It's to the same nonprofit. And if
They're all the same nonprofit, okay.
Abby, is it okay if I direct her to speak with the gentleman who's in the white shirt who can tell her which nonprofit that is, or is that a sunshine issue?
Obviously, she can speak to, if she wants to take that opportunity to speak to that individual, I mean, she can.
Ralph, can you give her a little bit of a wave so you can tell her?
You know what, Commissioner Lober, if that's where it is, I just have people asking, so you
Yeah.
just kind of answered it, so I'm good with that. Okay, and then I got, if you're up to it, now again, if you don't have information of this, no big deal.
Sure. If you asked me from 3 years ago, I may not remember.
No, but I've got to ask this one. Where is the chair?
Chair, we shipped it to Vieira. I told Rachel when she came in, I thought it was either Central Services or Natural Resources, but I do remember it went to Vieira.
Do we know why we did that? That's why I keep getting questions, because
Sure. Well, when I had the money that was approved for staff tangible goods,
did somebody ask for the chair or something?
well, when I had the money approved for staff tangible goods, I had essentially put out the word, if you need something that's not in your budget, tell me what it is, and if it's reasonable and we have the funds to get it for you, I'll get it for you.
Okay, so somebody just kind of said we need a chair, so you just kind of order it one, or?
I don't remember if they reached out to me or it was me reaching out to them to see what they needed, but the general word was essentially, if you need something, reach out to me, let me know.
Okay.
But that was, I think that was from 2019 or 2020.
Okay, and you just ordered it and sent it to the,
Yeah, it shipped, I think, because I looked at it afterward, because I had a couple questions on it. I looked and it shipped to the government center here.
okay. And then I know, okay, this is like the fun question. You have all these computer pieces and
Yeah.
stuff. Can I ask you how many computers you ended up building by the time you were done?
That are in my office or that have gone to nonprofits?
I don't, just on this, how many computers did it make?
I can tell you what we've got in my office, and then anything that's over and above that would be with a nonprofit or with another government office.
I'm just wondering, did you build 10 computers,
No,
5
it's-
computers?
give me a second so I can do some
Okay.
math. They're 4.
4? Wonderful.
4.
These are all the questions I'm getting, by the way, so thank
That's
you.
easy.
All right, and then the next question is why you sent nuts and bolts to Virginia?
To Virginia?
Natural Resources?
Oh, they screwed up.
Okay,
Yeah, they screwed up. I think Virginia had ordered from the same vendor,
okay.
and they just screwed up and shipped them to her.
I thought Fritz did something, so I'm just kidding.
No, I think those were from probably a year ago, and if I remember correctly, we were using them, I think it was to repair the Welcome to Merritt Island sign, if I remember correctly,
Okay,
with some fender washers and things of that nature. I'd have to look, though, because that was an older one.
all right. And then this one was interesting, too, out-of-country transaction fees.
I'd have to see the individual one.
Okay, no big deal.
Yeah, if you can put it on,
Yep,
or...
no big deal. You can get that later.
Yeah.
And then the other $1 million question is a green screen.
A green screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, just to use with WebEx and Zoom and Teams and all that.
Okay. So that's what I was asked on. And okay, and I'm going to throw this in
I
now,
was
too.
going to say, it's
'cause
my ankle and wrist modeling
since
career,
you're
but-
answering all this for me now, too. Audio editing.
You know, that was front page on Florida Today, and as I told them, it's interesting because in the same document that listed that, it also listed that it was refunded in full 2 years ago.
Okay. I thought that's what you maybe used to make those fast clips in here.
That's, you know, I was saying what we ended up finding was we found an open source one. I should be careful because we're on recording. I was using a personal license for something, and it was
Okay.
suggested to me I should get a commercial license because I was using it to do the fast clips in here, as you mentioned.
Okay.
And then I found a free alternative, basically an open source alternative to let me do the same thing.
Okay, and then I got one more question, and then I'm done for right
Okay.
now, and then I know other stuff we'll be doing later. But Fritz and Rich online, was that for his CPE continuing ed stuff?
Which one? I've got to look.
Okay, on 6/1/2020, it was on Fritz's card,
Give me 2 seconds, I can find an answer.
Okay. Because I know we did it with
Yeah, just bear with me and I'll get you
another
an answer.
employee at one time, too, so. That was just my question there.
Yeah,
Nobody else
okay.
gave me that one. That was me.
You said it was 20 or 21?
It was 6/1/2020.
2020, hang on.
Okay. You can pass that down to him if it'll help him right there. It's
Bear
the
with
one
me.
circled pink.
Okay, I see them here. From 20, it looks like those are for me. There are 3 of them. There's challenging and defending quasi-judicial local government decisions.
Right.
There's public records law in the age of social media, and then sunshine law, public records and ethics.
Okay, none of that was continuing education, though? Because I know
They
I
were
have to
just
do
pure
it for mine
courses. I
too.
think they may or may not have counted for, I think they were CLEs.
Because that's what I'm throwing out, because I know I do CPEs as well, so I think that could be a taxable fringe benefit. So that's why I just want to bring it to you.
I'll talk to
You
Addie
won't
and
know
see.
I would,
Yeah.
so I'm just bringing it to you. Okay.
I appreciate it.
That's all I have
Okay.
for now.
Easy peasy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question would be to Commissioner Lober, more general than specific on this. At the March 3rd meeting, I mentioned the requested action here was approval, and I was looking for, in order to, for the affirmative acknowledgement of receipt, as I put mine on.
Sure.
I checked it probably 2 hours ago, and
Did we not raise it that way?
it still says approval. I wouldn't be comfortable asking anyone here to approve my
fair.
spending. So if we can change the required action to acknowledgement of receipt, it will have my
If you want to make that motion, I'll second it.
Yeah. Okay.
Madam Chair, any other questions?
I don't know if you want to go through this list. I think Commissioner Pritchett hit quite a few. I think the part, I think a lot of that information may come true in the audit. I'm assuming like a lot of the old stuff. But I guess what I'm not understanding is why I've never run into the problem where facilities has asked me to purchase items so I could buy them at cost. You know what I mean? Where if we needed something done in our office, that we go through the county, we go through facilities. And I'm just curious as to why you would buy.
That's not what I said.
Okay, what did you mean by saying buying it?
I was talking about
Directly.
outside contractors, not
So
facilities.
using outside contractors instead of county contractors?
As is the policy, and as every department does, that's correct.
Okay, what were you having done, if you don't mind me asking, in your office?
At what time? You're talking about 4 calendar years of transactions.
Okay, let's talk about the most recent, like where you ordered like drywall anchors and screws,
Yeah.
washers,
You need to
lock
give me a
nuts and
specific one
screws.
so I can look to tell you. I can't guess.
117.22, washers, lock nuts and screws, $197.30.
Those 117?
117.22.
I see 110, no, 113, 117.
117.22 is what is on your reconciliation report.
I believe that's with the coax install that I mentioned with Jeff that we were using the outside contractor for.
McMaster car washers, lock
Correct.
nuts and screws is what it says on your.
Yes.
On your.
I believe that's what it is. We also had installed a bunch of Purell dispensers in the service annex as well. So
Okay.
some of them could have been used for that as well.
So the surveillance cameras you bought.
There were 10 of them.
Ubiquity. The 2 recent ones for $960 were for the.
No, that's not correct.
That's what it says on your reconciliation. I'm just reading from there.
Show me. Oh, on this 120, I apologize, you are correct, yes, 960.86, but 60-something was refunded,
Okay, so $900 for 2 surveillance cameras. Was that to
Yes.
the same nonprofit?
all to the same nonprofit. We only had one that had a surveillance camera need.
Okay. All right. And the PVC fittings is for plumbing in your office?
PVC, the ones that were refunded or the ones that are on there still?
I'm just going aquadraulics for $548.33.
Yeah, again, I think that was answered in Commissioner Pritchett's questions.
So for plumbing for the hot water tank?
There was an issue with the hot water tank leaking, and there was also an issue with our dishwasher just not working at all. And I believe some of the fittings may also have been used in wall, although I'd have to double check on that.
So did you replace your dishwasher?
No, we just wanted to remove it and cap it.
Okay. All right, and this computer equipment, that's for your office?
Which computer equipment?
Well, there's a flat screen display mount. It looks like a monitor, possibly, on 11/27/21. A display mount, flat screen display mount.
What's the value of the transaction?
$332.49.
No, that went to the nonprofit that had the surveillance equipment, same one.
Okay. Is this like did they just get this stuff, or is this stuff you've been giving them for a couple of years? Because I noticed there's a lot of
couple years.
computer stuff
Wait,
that
hang
was
on. Are you talking about the one from 21 or 22? Because now you're confusing me here.
11/27/21.
I believe that's the same nonprofit. I can double check, but that's my belief at this point.
And the data storage drive on 12/1/21 for $129.98. Is that for also the nonprofit?
Remind me?
Data storage drive for $129.98 on 12/1/21.
I don't believe that one was, because the amount doesn't, no, I'd have to look. I don't believe that was to that specific nonprofit. That would have either been another government nonprofit or to my office, depending on what it was. I've got to pull it up, though. You've got 300 or 400 transactions.
Well, not on this most recent one. This is
Sure.
what you put in the bill folder for this. This is,
Give me the date again.
that's 12/1/21 was the purchase
12/1/21.
for Amazon data storage, solid
Bear with me.
state drive.
12/21?
12/1/21.
Are you seeing it there? I'm not even seeing the entry.
Right here. So put an X by it.
Am I looking at the wrong thing here? Do you see it?
Right here. Sorry. I'd like to know which nonprofit.
I have to look. It's a $120-something transaction. I really don't recall. I have to look. I'm happy to look and tell you at the next meeting.
This isn't a form, this is what you submitted. I'm not making it up. So.
No, that's fine. I just want to make sure I'm telling you the right thing.
And what about the 12/3/21 purchase from Netgear for a mobile Wi-Fi router for $636.64? Was that for the nonprofit?
No, that was for my office.
For your office in Merritt Island?
Correct. And to use apart from the office. We've had issues with the internet over there, and it also enables people to telework. Are we going to get into the $200,000 that you spent in rent over the 8 years?
See, this is what a deflector does.
I thought
I'm just
you're-
asking about your transactions for the bill folder.
Well, you're asking me about $100-and-something transactions out of a $5 million pool.
No, I'm asking for $39,000 of transactions that came to light over the last 2 years. And so this is what you submitted as a bill folder. This is
Right.
part of this agenda item. I'm not even going back into what some of the other purchases were.
Well, is that why you had your spouse put things that are absolutely incorrect about inventory tracking on Facebook, or did he do that on his own volition?
Again, this is what a deflector does. All right, so Commissioner
Better to deflect
Lober's...
than to lie. He also wrote about my genitals on the prior occasion. Was that
So
appropriate as well?
There it is. There it is. So
That's
with that, and I'll just say for the record, it was the previous county manager that found my office to rent as central in my district. Wasn't something that I pick or chose or found, and we needed the space, so that was why I was located in that space. So it wasn't like I was.
True politician answer.
It's the real answer. It's
200
absurd.
grand. 200 grand.
Okay, guys, let's just
Yeah, I
be
just want to
civil
know, we
and
have to get
professional up here,
facilities to be into
please.
where we can do our jobs. I had to rent another place before I found another. It's what we have to do our jobs. So Commissioner Lober, I'm going to tell you, I think that's below the belt. And I think they were not bad questions, and you were answering them very well. So I agree with Commissioner Zonka on this. I don't think that's necessary. And so getting this back into what we're doing, there's some things on here, and again, you did this to yourself. You did some things out of what we typically do. I think you might have found a little loophole with it. With your profession, it's kind of what you do, I guess. But this is, sorry.
That's classic,
Sorry.
too.
Well, lawyers do. That's what you do. You try to find loopholes to help with stuff, correct? Legal or not legal, it's what we do, right? You try to help your client. Yeah, it's not a bad thing. So my thought with this is, sir, is this is absolutely an accounting nightmare right now, and that's what we got to figure out and get come together. I think we'll have better information later. Do I think you did anything illegal? No, but I think you found some loopholes and found some things to do here, and we've got to figure it out and pull it back around. So as far as with some of these questions, they're just questions we're getting asked right now because doing this, you're not the only one under fire. We all are right now. And so we're trying to pull this out right now as well and figure out how to fix it. And we're making some progress moving forward, sir. But this really isn't personal. It's just trying to get the business back in line. So I just wanted to state that.
Thank you. And that was sort of my line of questioning was so you would have a public forum to answer. I wasn't an accusation. It wasn't a, why did you buy this? Or, you're a bad person for doing it. It was simply me going through the transaction so you could make your voice.
I've got a question then.
Is this related to the item?
It's absolutely related to what you just said.
Okay. Commissioner Lober?
Why is it that your spouse put on Facebook that there's less inventory tracking using a purchase card as opposed to other purchase methods when that's absolutely false? That this was used for that
can't speak
purpose.
for what my husband puts on social
Oh, that's
media.
convenient.
I mean, that's a question that possibly you can ask him. My only guess is with a purchase card, if you stay under the spending limit, you don't have to inventory it with the county.
We
It's not
don't?
required.
Well, we have anyway.
Read your own 6-page memo, Commissioner Lober. You said you were acting
We
within.
have anyway.
You said you were acting within the law, then you have nothing to worry about. But
Right,
I'm going to
unless you
move
try
on.
to take things out of context
I'm going to
or
move on
twist
from
things,
this.
yes.
Okay.
I make a motion to receive the report, ma'am.
Okay, I have a motion, or I think there was a motion on the floor already, Commissioner Tobias? Did you make a motion on this item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, I had not, but I would accept this as acknowledgement of receipt, not as the approval there, just merely acknowledgement of receipt. Again, exactly what I asked for in F-16, Madam Chair.
Okay. I think I have two motions, but I have a motion by Commissioner Tobias,
So I second his.
second by Commissioner Pritchett. Any further discussion? And I mean, I'll acknowledge receipt of this as it sits, but no more than I would acknowledge. I definitely don't accept it based on the response just from asking some easy questions. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item F20.
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to thank my office for submitting these purchase orders and make a motion to acknowledge them. I also want to tell a little story. When I first got in, you guys made me so nervous, and we had Marcia Newell, so we all brought 3 rolls of toilet paper every month to even use because I was too chicken to use a purchase card. So I just want to throw that out there. I make a motion to acknowledge it.
Motion by Commissioner Pritchett.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item F21.
And the same thing again, Madam Chair, thank you and your office for submitting these in all the way back to the period of time so everybody could see all of our information, and I make a motion to acknowledge the receipt of them.
I have a motion by Commissioner Pritchett, and I'll just say, we had an employee who had a card like for the first couple, I would say 8 weeks I was there, so it took us till yesterday to kind of get her information because we didn't have it because it wasn't submitted until a new employee came in and submitted it. So I gave a copy to the clerk and a copy to the board, and anybody who wants to see it is welcome to see it, but I'm going to have it added as part of the record. I couldn't submit it to the agenda because the agenda was closed. Commissioner Lober?
I have a question on that. Did you direct your staff member who had that card to purchase those items, or did they do that on their own volition?
No, I didn't direct them, actually.
So they just kind of went on a spending spree without your approval? I'm asking a question. You
No,
said you didn't direct them to purchase it.
They did not go on a spending spree. I didn't question.
Thought it was a simple question.
And I said no. I didn't have to ask them because it looks like everything that they purchased, which was a Gannett subscription, 1 month, Culligan Water,
Oh, convenience item.
printing, and name tags. So those were items that were definitely well within the purchasing of their authority. So
I have a question for Mr. Bate, if I may. Mr. Bate, do the administrative orders disallow the use of convenience purchases on purchase cards? Things like Culligan, I'm just wondering. I don't know.
I don't have that one in front of me for that specific item, so I can't tell you off the
Okay,
top of my
that's
head.
fair.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
any further discussion?
Yeah, I just want to mention on that, our office, we get Culligan Water, and a few items like that we have to have for offices. Whatever Carol purchases, I don't see what she picks up.
For meetings?
Right, and if I sign, at the end of it, and there was to be something crazy on there, we'd have a strong conversation, probably pay for it ourselves. So our staff is usually pretty good of knowing what items are in the constraints of what we buy and what we don't buy. So that's a typical process for us.
Yeah, and I believe that Culligan's on purchase order now, so we don't even have to use the card for that. But I know that there's another commissioner that also uses them as well, because we have a lot of meetings, and it's just safer and easier to not give them the tap water. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right.
Madam Chair, if I may, I have to actually, I apologize, I have to revisit item F17, which was the appointments, reappointments, and I stand corrected, I actually misspoke. It actually, for the waiver of the term limits, does require a supermajority. So I apologize, we did a simple majority, and I was thinking of just the approval, so I apologize to Commissioner Smith, and I stand corrected.
I make
made
a
mistake.
motion to rescind the motion.
Commissioner
accepted.
Pritchett, who makes a motion to rescind F17's motion?
Yeah,
Do I have a second?
I'll second that because I wanted
Second by
to.
Commissioner Smith.
Commissioner Tobias gave me a note to reconsider F17 because it does require a supermajority.
All those in favor of rescinding F17, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, Commissioner Tobias.
And just to be clear, if this is put out with County Mr. Walker and it comes back that no other candidates, I will change my vote, and thus you'll have your 4 votes in order to put them up.
Yeah, my staff texted me and said that we advertised it on Facebook, but we will do so through Mr. Walker.
You want to table it?
Yes, we'll table it.
Okay, motion to table by Commissioner Smith of item
What date?
F17. 22nd?
22nd will be fine.
Will I give you enough time?
Second.
To March 22nd?
Yes.
Second by Commissioner Lober. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Vate?
Thank you. I do have, I was caught off guard a little bit to check on that administrative order, and I do have it. So there, in response to Commissioner Lober's question, you were asking about a specific brand, but there is in the administrative order AO41 does speak to the issue. One, any purchase has to be for public purchase, but specifically on bottled water, there's a provision that there's restricted uses on the purchasing card for purchases of water requiring the county manager's approval. That's 6F under that particular item under that section of prohibited uses of purchasing cards. But I would also point out that that particular item, this administrative order applies, of course, to all the staff who works for me, and none of you obviously work for me, I work for you. Therefore, we wouldn't apply this to county commissioners unless the county commission decided to make it apply to yourselves or provided us that direction. That goes for things, as you recall, you did something along that line with the administrative order that dealt with travel a while back. So I hope that provides the clarification you were looking for.
Okay, but just, I guess, not to hammer the point home too much, but to make sure I understand, so that would not be permitted for an employee to do? Under your umbrella?
Under the restricted uses, it would require the county manager's approval.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Right. Commissioner Tobias, is this new, old?
Sorry.
Okay. Yes? I think Commissioner Smith did.
I
Maybe
did.
we didn't hear it.
I did.
Maybe I didn't say his name. I'm sorry. It was Commissioner Smith.
That's okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. We good? All right. Item F22? I think somebody did.
I don't think so.
No? Did anybody pull 22?
I don't have a 22.
Okay. All right. Moving on to public comments. I have Christina Jackson.
Do I need to say my address and all that?
Name and city would be fine.
Okay. Christina Jackson, Coco. And I'm writing, I know this is, I'm talking about CARES Act money and some stuff that the ship has sailed, but in regards to what you guys were saying, I would definitely prefer you use Culligan than bottled water just for the environment. It's not good to have bottled water, and then all those plastic bottles floating everywhere, not being recycled, or if they're recycled, they don't really get recycled. So just on that. And then I worked as a public school teacher, and we always had a maintenance department that did work. Why would you hire, I thought that was like in a government thing, that's what you did. You hired them, you just told, you did a work order, you filled out a work order, and you said, we need this done. So it kind of surprises me you guys don't have that as a routine that you do, is go through a maintenance department, because that's why you have a maintenance department. So that was my question with that. But I'm writing in regards to how the CARES Act money was spent and the lack to me of public input. I'm in Mr. Lober's district, and I emailed him. This was April 21st, 2021, and I think the year, 2021. And I said, I'm writing to you in regards to the closed YMCA in Clear Lake. I'm wondering if your office has discussed the repairs needed or what would be required to reopen the YMCA. I'm not sure if CARES Act money could be used since a pandemic was one cause of its closing. The neighborhood really needs this facility. I know the county park, there's a Travis Park there, and they use that pool for their summer program and other, when they have kids for spring break. I said the faculty does not need a lot of work, but does need someone to spend some time finding out the exact needs and possible solutions. I know a Facebook group is forming to try and help that area. My response was, given your prior unprovoked and inaccurate ad hominem comments pertaining to Mr. Lober, it is particularly interesting that you yet again reached out to this office to request an illegal action. No, we will not cancel public comment, because that was from a mask mandate I emailed about. And no, we will not use CARES funds in an illegal manner as you have suggested. And I'm frustrated because I don't understand how my requesting this to help District 2 was an illegal manner. And I was told to come, and if this is not to your liking, you're welcome to come to public comment to complain, or you can sue. So here I am, and you may not like being told the truth, but both message request and illegal action be taken. So.
All right. Did you want to hear the rest of the cards first, or would you prefer?
I have just a couple comments about that, but if you want to take the other cards, that's fine.
Make it quick.
Okay. So a couple items. And if you want to sit down, you're more than welcome to. I don't want to make you stand.
Okay.
A couple things. Because obviously I think there was some missing prior communications that were referenced, but certainly not included there. And I couldn't remember if that was from 2020 or 2021 that you mentioned. 2021, thank you. But in any event, I had spoken with Lorraine Koss in person multiple times, who's the city councilwoman who's over that area. I've spoken with officials over at Eastern Florida State College about that specific issue. Frankly, any of the community meetings that particular city councilwoman has had since that time, I think I've been to every single one of them and addressed that issue on more than one occasion. I will tell you that from my vague recollection, going back now 6 months or a year, there were requests that were illegal, including canceling public comment on an agenda item where the individual that spoke didn't want to have the public have the chance to have input. So there was some context, I think, that was lost in that. With respect to facilities, we absolutely have a facilities department. The issue with the facilities department is that they can't do absolutely everything, hence the reason that IT subs certain things out. The other concern with facilities is they charge per unit time to work. So if there is a picture that you want to mount, frankly, rather than paying facilities to mount it for you, just mount it yourself and don't spend the money. So I think it's a lot less complicated than it sounds. If there's something that requires a license, whether it's doing electrical work at line level or otherwise, obviously great, have facilities do it. If it's coax where they don't feel comfortable, as was the case with the request that I put into IT, if they have folks that they standardly use to sub it out, let the folks that the county has already negotiated contracts with sub it out at the hourly rates that have been negotiated.
Commissioner Pritchett?
Yeah, Commissioner Lober, don't leave me on this a second, because I got curious before. Okay, so when you subbed out, you got people to volunteer to do it in your office? How did we do that?
It's not done yet. It's still ongoing.
Okay.
We've had the folks come out from the sub. It's just not been done yet. I think they're running behind.
So that'll run through county for payment later, correct? Because that's what we talked about here, is not subcontracting from offices.
No, it's
You're going to go
essentially
through there for the check, right?
The request was put in through IT, and IT
Okay.
said that they have a sub that does it.
Okay.
So whatever the standard procedure is for paying that sub, I would
They've
assume
got
it's going to
it.
go the same exact way.
Perfect. So county staff's got all that when they go to make payment for that.
Yeah, I don't plan on involving myself in the specifics. However they want to do it, if they want to do a PO for it, or if they want to,
Perfect.
however they want to do it. I've not asked or gotten involved in that.
Okay, I was just picturing you up there with your little wrenches and stuff.
Yeah, not
so-
hardly.
Okay, good.
No, not on the
Okay.
roof. I'm not doing that.
Thank you.
Ms. Sullivan?
I am down with the second comment.
Okay. They gave you a G card,
Okay,
so we'll change it to K.
thank you.
Ron Jagutis? Did I? Yay.
That's the best I can do. Good evening, Council. I'm here because of the Budget Finance Committee remarks from a prior meeting. And I feel like seniors are being disenfranchised in this community. And we are a working force that are very important. And I hold up a document here that was received on the cost of this committee work. Why is the county wasting money on colors here for printing? We don't need that. Because the reason I bring that up is how a person and other people that have worked on this committee that are trying to save money or review it. And then I go to myself, now we're buying Culligan water, which is a distraction right now. I thought we should be looking at the bigger things here, such as buying Culligan water, Zephyr Hills water. Why don't we have clean water here in this community, where we can walk up to the spigot and drink it? Maybe it's cost effective, I don't know. But when this individual turns senior, I hope he experiences this. And then additionally, when you talk about 5 years of no reports, where's the responsibility of the commission to show up at these meetings, whoever is responsible? Where are these people, the commissioners, that should be putting input and maybe saying, well, gee, I haven't received a report in a year or two. Maybe I need to go talk to these people, and maybe they will give me some insight. And I'm going to stay strong on this issue. All these committees are important, and I'm not going to stay here tonight. And then I'm also going to bring up the fact, do people on this list get overtime? Or is that a function of their salary? That is a big question that needs to be answered. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I apologize for my forcefulness right now. I apologize. And thank you.
Dontavia Smith? You have some neat handwriting.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it very much. Good evening, Dontavia Smith, Cocoa, Florida. I believe I came in on February 22nd and commended you guys on being public administrators and salaries being increased or leveled. But after today, you guys are not displaying public administrators. You guys are really displaying politicians. And you guys are part of the same party, which makes it more disgraceful. I can't believe, now I'm talking to you, Mr. Lober, sir. As my representation, sir, for you to insult
Can you,
I'm sorry.
Can you direct your comments to me?
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry,
That's
ma'am.
okay.
But as District 2 citizen and constituent of Mr. Lober, Chairwoman, I believe it was very inappropriate to talk to you and to any commissioner on that level. It was a disgrace to even sit there and listen to that as a constituent and as a public administrator from Florida A&M University. I told you guys this was a hard job, and I commend you guys for the job you have to do with the committees, the meetings, the budgets, and all the constituents you have to deal with concerns. But for you guys to deal with Florida Today, and I don't know what issue Florida Today got with y'all, or what issue that y'all got with Florida Today, but it's not good. And it's not good on behalf of the citizens of Brevard County. I have friends in Ghana, Africa, who they know that certain things in life that I'm pursuing. And when they look at me and I'm posting things that are reflective of things I'm pursuing, they're asking me, Tay, are you guys being represented this way? This is over across another continent that sees this through Florida Today and other social media outlets that are displaying these meetings publicly. So as a constituent, as a black man constituent, this is disgraceful for me. This is disgraceful for Brevard County citizens to even hear a commissioner talk to a chairwoman and be on this commissioner that we voted him on. When I say we, I don't mean me specifically. I mean we as a governing body as far as District 2. We voted someone to represent us. That's not being displayed very well. So whatever it is, I know my district's term is ending this year, so whoever gets this position is well-deserved because it's definitely not a representation of who we are. Thank you very much. You're running with the mayor. Bye-bye.
All right, Janice Scott.
Good evening, Janice Scott from Cocoa Beach. I wanted to bring to your attention early in hopefully the budget cycle that somebody start taking it seriously about doing things for other taxing authorities. That has been one of my greatest pet peeves. I've spoken about it for about 25 years. And I do serve on a beach advisory committee, and I noticed that on this committee, we are also fixing up recreation equipment at schools. Now, I know you mentioned the word kids. We're all for the kids. I appreciate what the schools are doing and everything. But by law, they have taxing authority, just as you all do. And my bill shows their ad valorem taxes last year was 6.05, and the sales tax is 0.05, a half a percent. So I really think in honesty to the public, honesty in taxation, you all ought to stop doing this, passing taxes, saying, oh, we have the money here, let's do it for our school, let's do it for that school, let's do it here and there. Let them handle their own budget. Push it back there, let the school board increase their millage, and the county quit doing things for them. They do it in Cocoa Beach, they do it for all, I haven't added up all the different schools that the Parks and Rec provide the playground equipment. But since Commissioner Tobias is on a roll about saving the county money for the boards, I thought I would bring that to his attention because specifically, you would save a lot more money that way. And also, well, this is going to be a quantum leap. I don't know if it's state authority or by what that churches are exempt from taxes. I think Thomas Jefferson said it was the footprint of the house of worship. And when these big churches now are coming and buying 20 acres, they put a footprint of half an acre And the rest of it's all taken off the tax rolls. Why are you all sitting still for this? That might have been okay, didn't have such a big tax impact back in the day, but it's got a huge tax impact, particularly with the rapid growth in Brevard County. And I just want y'all to look at it. I know it's controversial. People don't like to say, oh, well, it's, for the schools, oh, it's for the churches. I'm not, whoever believes whatever they believe, that's great. But I just think you should quit letting them invest in land. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes. Commissioner Lober?
Just a question. I know with some of the municipalities, we have contractual arrangements, interlocals, whereby they pay us to perform the service on their parks, and I'm just curious if maybe Mary Ellen Donner might comment on whether the same is true with BPS. Because if that's the case and we simply have the resources and the ability to do work that they don't and they're offsetting our costs.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question, please?
No. Yes, of course. No, I'm asking, I know with Cocoa and Rockledge, for instance, that we have interlocals whereby Parks and Rec at the county level services some of the city-owned properties. I'm just wondering with BPS in particular if the same is true, where someone may see a county Parks and Rec employee and or vehicle at a BPS location. Do we have an interlocal with them whereby they pay us to service some of their parks?
So we have a joint use agreement between the board and the school district, and in that joint use agreement, we have use of certain facilities after hours. That's where a lot of our rec partners actually provide programs. So yes, we do have an agreement, and there are instances where we do, in fact, jointly improve facilities.
So in some cases, do I understand correctly then that even if they own the park, we get the use of it when the school isn't in session?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all the public comment cards I have. Moving on to unfinished business, item I-1.
Thank you.
Commissioner Tobias?
Yes. Yes, Madam Chair. May I go ahead?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. And I, first of all, want to apologize to the constituent that came up here. He was a little grumpy on 2 colors. This one has like 5 or 6. So I would hate to see him after he saw this many colors.
Well, Commissioner Tobias, just so you know, for us older people, these colors help me out a lot. So.
Me as well. But on the February 22nd board meeting, I proposed a resolution to the board that incorporated the suggestions of D1 and the position I had on D3. The compromise proposed was to make our rates the lowest of neighboring counties, and the ones that we looked at were Seminole, Volusia, Orange, and Polk, and to delete any unique fees. This resulted in lowering of some fees. However, several in each category also went up. Commissioner Smith was appearing by phone, and the request that the board table the vote on both the memo and the resolution so that D4 had time to complete and bring forward another proposal. Just to be clear, there has been no substantive changes on the resolution. This is the culmination of all of the stuff that was presented, not only at the meeting by my office, but also the ones that came from Commissioner Smith's office. That is the revised proposal that you see there that was not included on the last one. Obviously, I did not have it. So the updated spreadsheet only includes that new column. So the substance of the memo hasn't changed one word. I have copies if anyone needs that. So I would just go back and ask for a motion to update the fees, as well as offer, or as well as the chair to sign out the memo that can be sent to both Brevard County Sheriff Wayne Ivey and the 18th Circuit State Attorney Phil Archer.
Commissioner Lober?
Commissioner Tobias, I'm just curious here, and I'm not saying that you're incorrect, but I've had at least one tow operator contact my office and say that some of the rates for adjacent counties aren't correct. Do you know that they are right? I'm not trying to allege that they're not. I just want to make sure that you're confident that they are actually the correct rates.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Yes. So this was all pulled and run through County Attorney's Office, and I do know someone did mention that errantly on a news report. However, I do have all of the ordinances from the neighboring counties here.
And if you tell me you've reviewed them, that's fine.
Yeah, not only me, but the county attorney's
I appreciate
office
it
as well.
Commissioners?
Sorry, Madam Chair. I certainly would, you're more than welcome to ask the county attorney as well. These were a little bit complicated. However, a lot of time went into matching these up.
That's for you guys.
Thank you.
And this is for you
Thanks.
So you unpressed your light. Was your question answered, Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've passed out copies of Commissioner Tobias' resolution, and these are the numbers that we derived, my staff, primarily Adrian. She, as you know, we had an agreement, a resolution, I guess, in place since 2008 that would have accounted for a 3% increase to the towing rates or CPI, whichever was less. And she went through each one of these, and in green, these numbers are what they would be had they gotten those increases each and every year. And I want to bring your attention to Section 9, the access fee. It says here that the tower is not required to open after hours, weekends, or holidays. That is a state statute that they are required. And as I said on the phone that I was going to meet with the sheriff, I did last week. Doug Waller represented the sheriff. We showed him what we have done, and he was very interested in what we've done. I've talked with Abby, and what I aim to do is come up with a whole new ordinance, because an ordinance would be law. Resolutions, they get passed 2-3 years down the road, get lost. You can't find them. They're hard to find. If it's an ordinance, even the public can reach out, and they can find out what their rights are under the law. So Doug Waller suggested that in creating an ordinance, he liked the idea, and he would like to have a workshop, which he is going to put together with the other municipalities, the cities, et cetera, so that the whole county, including the municipalities, will be working on the same ordinance. And he thinks that he's talked to a few of them, and he thinks that they would be inclined to go along with this. So I would like the opportunity to move forward with this, work with the sheriff, with the other municipalities, and come up with an ordinance. As far as the rates are concerned, we can incorporate whatever ideas that you guys agree with on Commissioner Tobias with his rates, and we can discuss that, and we can make that his resolution part of this ordinance so that it carries the weight of law and will be used throughout the county. So it's not going to happen overnight. This is very complicated, but that would be my request, that we move forward with this and take care of the people, because I'm really, really concerned with how our constituents are treated, especially with the non-consensual tows I've seen, and I can forward those to you. I've seen a video where a gentleman went to pick up his car, got in an argument with the tow yard, and they actually took a cinder block and busted out his windows. So we need to protect our folks, and I think an ordinance would do that. So if I can get your Consent, we'll move forward, and we'll have Doug Waller conduct a workshop with the other municipalities, and we'll come up with some ideas to bring back to you guys so we can do this.
Okay, I have a bunch of cards, so I'd like to hear from the public first if commission's amenable, and we'll bring it back to the board. Ms. Sullivan? And after Ms. Sullivan, John Hammers?
Sandra Sullivan, South Patrick Shores. The only thing I would like to ask is I did a search and to consider the idea of competitive bidding. So on one article I was looking at, they did a towing rotation system based on geographic location, and the proposed change established a competitive bidding process. They had an app as well as part of this, so somebody could look up and see where their vehicle was, some way to look it up. So rather than, it sits uncomfortably when you have, how this first began, to have a lobbyist who represents his own towing company, Kendall Towing, and his client to come in and put forth fees, and that's how this conversation began. So it would be great to consider having the competitive bid process brought into how you work this out, if that's a consideration, and definitely resolving the resettings so that the same people at the top of the list get called, that goes down the list, whatever companies are chosen. Thank you.
Can I ask you a quick question, Ms. Sullivan? What lobbyist has a towing company?
It was reported in Florida today, and was that Kendall Moore has...
He doesn't own Kendall.
He does not own that. That was
No.
misinformation.
I mean, unless there's something I don't know about, but I don't believe he owns that towing company.
Okay, so...
Everybody's saying no in the audience, so I just was curious because I wanted to see what I was missing.
Well, there was an article when this first came up that he represented Tron Towing and Kendall Towing, so that's where I referenced that. And then I looked up the lobbyist the lobbyist form and look up, and I saw that he had Tron Towing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, John Hammers and Sam Roig. Okay, do you have cards filled out? Yes. Okay. If you could just state your name so I make sure I get the cards out of here.
John Hammers, Melbourne, Florida.
All right.
So you were actually mentioning my car was the one that had the cinder blocks thrown through it, and that was Kendall Towing and the owner of Kendall Towing.
But not the lobbyist. Thank
Not
you.
the lobbyist, no. I had started to wonder, too, if he had an interest, but I know for a fact he doesn't. This resolution came about as complaints about tow companies not following the law, not doing what they're supposed to do, and it's become a major focus of this resolution to increase the rates for the tow companies. Believe it or not, Kendall Towing doesn't even actually exist as a corporation. It was administratively dissolved in mid-2021, so it's not even a real corporation as far as the division of corporations is concerned. Either way, I would like to try and bring the focus back onto protecting constituents and tourists coming here to visit Brevard County. And I think that before you consider raising the rates, there should be some more oversight and enforcement. There are a lot of statutes and ordinance already in place, but if nobody's there to enforce them, it doesn't really make a difference. I did email you a rather large document that's chronicled Kendall Towing's dealings with the public over the past 15 years. They don't have a good reputation. A lot of people have been taken advantage of, and they have no fear because they know that nobody's going to enforce the laws. As a matter of fact, if you saw my video, Melbourne PD is there trespassing me so that, Kendall Towing can do their job. So I don't know what to say other than, you guys saw the video. I can bring some more information to light, but this is a little industry, if you will, that is often overlooked. People think that these guys are just doing their jobs, but in reality, how can anybody sit there and defend Kindle Towing throwing bricks through the window of my car? So, thank you.
Thank you. Good question.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to mention, sir, that I did watch the video, and it was very disturbing. It was an abuse, and it got my attention.
So I'd like to see you guys not move forward with this motion until something better can be put together.
I don't know if it's an isolated situation, but I wanted you to know that that was very disturbing.
And you guys have access to the county attorney. There's more than enough for probable cause there to bring some type of investigation against Kindle Towing. But I'll leave you guys to it.
Carl Chase? Sam, you passed, correct? Okay. Garrett Paquette?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, my name is Garrett Paquette. I'm the Florida President for the Sunshine State Towing Association, and I'm here to speak for the towers. I can only apologize to what has happened to the man in the back, because that is clearly not what towers do. Many times they see us on the side of the road, and we move over law needs to be enforced. We can go about that and to have many, many conversations. Commissioner Smith, you have a wonderful idea in regards to an ordinance, because an ordinance gives you control. And an ordinance gives you control over rates. It gives you control over what goes on within your towers within the county. And I do make a recommendation that the board, and I am glad to sit in on any conversation that needs to be had. I promise you I can bring the towers together, and I will keep the peace between them because I represent them. And to have a workshop to look at these rates, because I understand that the rates that we're looking at, they haven't received an increase since 2008. Well, we all know what is happening to our pockets right now with the cost of fuel. I know since 2008, we've seen almost a 65% increase in insurance, just liability insurance alone. And I know this because I'm also a tower. I'm a tower not in this county. I'm a tower in Lake County. And our ordinance works well. And what we've done, just as an example, is we have non-consensual towing private property and non-consensual towing public property, meaning that anything is a police tow or an accident or blocking the roadway, that has a different rate because that is a reimbursed expense by the insurance companies. However, a illegally parked vehicle is a non-reimbursed expense. You cannot get your money back if you park someplace wrong. So therefore, the idea is to make those rates different. And in the county where I come from, I worked with the county attorney and many of the towers, and we had a public forum, and we talked about dividing those into two. And so therefore, the non-consensual tow on private property is a lesser fee, because we do look to get reimbursed for those accident tows. Because another situation is that we as towers, we have the right under rotation to refuse that private tow. We don't have to do it. Okay, so it can be a lesser fee. But in regards to the response for the allocation system for the Florida Highway Patrol and the Sheriff's Office, we do have to show up, 30 minutes response time, and you're also dealing with the customer after the fact. So I'm glad to represent the towers. I'm glad to get them together, put a workshop together. I'll make the drive. It's all good. And I think an ordinance is certainly a good investment for this county to be able to monitor what goes on within it. And thank you.
If you could you have a card?
You know what? They're in my other truck. So.
All right.
Yeah.
I was going to say leave your information.
Yeah.
Yes. Mr. Tobias?
Thank you for being here. A couple quick questions that I had. The one, my office did some analysis looking at Seminole, Volusia, Orange, and Polk. There's no CPI adjustment in any of those counties, some going back as long as 2009. Are you aware of that?
But as I recall, the CPI does not account for any energy differentiations. So that's why it's not there. It's not there.
Madam Chair, my point is they don't have it.
Right.
Okay, so we're not dissimilar from those other counties. Are you?
That is absolutely correct.
Okay, just want to Thank you. And a question that I had, and maybe you can answer this. There are certain fees that are unique to Brevard County. I have a whole list of them here. Why would Brevard County have an extra manpower Class B fee of $85.60, which the initial proposal, Commissioner Smith bumped that up to $118. I guess the new one's down to $109. But Seminole County does not have that. Volusia County does not have that. Orange County does not have that. And Polk County does not have that. Can you explain why that fee would, and I understand it's us doing it.
And I'm going to just simply say is that whoever put those fees in understood what it costs to operate a business. Because you have to understand is when you put an all-inclusive rate together that says, and I'm just going to use this as an example, $150 to tow a car. $150 to tow a car, and that's all-inclusive. Okay, does that include winching it out of the ditch? Does that include inclement weather? Does that include putting dollies underneath it, which are all things that can be talked about certainly in the workshop. But if you put a flat rate tow, then you make the towers where they no longer become, they're not making any money. And without making any money, they can't sustain the business. It's just, and that's the reality of life. And when you start looking at rates from 2008 and not looking at any increases with, I mean, certainly your budget has gone up immensely since 2008. And likewise, their budget has done the same. So I would think that you would look at their needs and hopefully be able to come up with a satisfactory fee to be able to make it where they can stay profitable.
Madam Chair. Yeah. So I appreciate the answer. I'm just not following you. If we have a fee and you're concerned about the folks in Brevard County making money, I understand. Can you explain in all the other counties that I looked at, again, Seminole, Volusia, Orange, and Polk, they don't have a fee. So how can those folks be making money and our guys not?
I can tell you those rates are up for review, just as this is, because I've talked to many of the towers in those counties, and the same things are going on right now, especially with the rising cost of doing business. Because operating, so those rates are in the process. Everybody is doing what these people in Brevard County are doing. They're trying to get more money because they're trying to stay profitable. So in those counties, the towers are getting together and they are reaching out to their commissions and they're trying to do the exact same thing that's going on here.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Thank you. Seminole County, for instance, changed theirs in 2021.
They did, and they went with a multiplier. Is how they did. If you looked at their rates, what they did is but they had a rate increase several years ago, and they did a 1/3 multiplier on that. It's how they came up with the rates that they're at right now.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
So are you comfortable with the rates that were passed in Seminole County in 2021?
I don't know what it costs to run a business in Seminole County. So I have no idea because I don't know what their tax rate is for commercial property no more than I know what your tax rate is here in this county. I don't know what you have to pay for commercial property in this county.
So, Madam Chair.
It would be something that would have to be discussed because everybody has different operating.
I appreciate it, but didn't you just a few minutes ago offer to lend your expertise, right?
Well,
with the towers?
Absolutely.
And now didn't you just say you had no idea what tax rates or in Brevard County? I'm trying to follow.
Well, what it is what you have to understand is that this was brought up in a state meeting approximately 5 days ago. In regards to me coming in as the new president. I was sworn in as the president in January, as me coming in and attempting to assist these towers, and if nothing more, be a mediator, if nothing more, because it's hard to get towers all in one room and trying to keep them where they get along. It's just the nature of it. And so if that's my goal here, that's my goal here. If, as far as that, I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Madam Chair, I greatly do appreciate it, and I understand your concern and your job as a lobbyist for the towing industry.
I'm not a lobbyist.
As the president of the Towing Association, there you go, understand that hopefully ours happens to be with that of the consumer, and so we may be on separate ends of these things. I do understand how you want to see these drastic rate increases has been put forward here. However, what was discussed many meetings ago was to match Brevard counties with the neighboring ones. Many circumstances were far above, as well as limit any of the fees that are unique in Brevard County. And that's been there, the documentation's been there, and you're more than welcome to grab a copy of this, and if you want to add in other neighboring counties and look at their tax rates, I implore you to do that.
Absolutely.
All right.
Good.
Okay, thank you. Paul, Noel?
Madam Chair, just curious how many cards we have roughly.
I have 3 more.
Thank you.
Good evening. How y'all doing?
State
My
your
name is
name
Paul
and your
Knoll. I live in West Cocoa. My business is actually located in Merritt Island. I have sat down personally one-on-one with Commissioner Smith, have discussed this at quite some length. I do understand this has been an ongoing thing that we've been trying to get passed and resolved for years. Only within the last couple months has it actually taken flight, and some things are going on with it. I think probably as a business owner myself, one of the biggest concerns that we have is the misinformation, or no disrespect to anybody sitting on the board, the uneducation of how this industry actually works. I've heard a lot of different conversations. I've watched a lot of the meetings. I've watched a lot of the tapes and everything like that, where people are questioning, well, I don't understand why we're charging this fee, but I don't even know what this is. Commissioner Tobia directly has said that a couple different times, as well as Commissioner Lober. What it all boils down to, there's so much that moving parts with this couldn't possibly be all addressed in under 3 minutes to discuss it with you. I know there are a bunch of us that are here as owners of companies. Prices keep going up. Yes, there are bad things that happen. There are a bunch of towing operators, unfortunately, that don't run their companies on the up and up. Obviously, the people that are here aren't some of those people. A lot of us try to work together, but I mean, it's simple math at the root of it. Fees can't stay where they're at from 2008 with prices continuing to go up. A tow truck that cost me 2014 $60,000 to buy that same truck today, you're looking at over $120,000. Cost of fuel has gone up 70 cents to $1 just in the last couple days. That certainly hurts. What nobody's talking about, and understand that this really doesn't affect my company as far as my bottom line, because I'm a mom and pop, I'm a one-man, one-truck operation. We've got owners out here that have millions of dollars worth of equipment that are sitting here tonight. I can't even imagine what they're going through, but my insurance keeps going up, my costs keep going up. A lot of this doesn't affect my bottom line, but I am in this industry. I've been doing it for 23 years. Nobody talks about the part of cars that get abandoned that we don't collect money on, that we wind up having to eat, that in a lot of times we lose money. My fear is that if you guys don't pass this and the fees don't come up, that we're going to wind up seeing a lot of towing companies, some big ones may wind up going under or just outright refuse to do the work because we can't keep losing money as business owners. Unfortunately, the bad apples are the exception to the rule. It does happen. You have that in every industry. But something's got to give. We can't keep operating at a loss, and a lot of us are. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Antron Kottman. And after Antron, Donald Franson.
Hello, I'm Antron Kottman, Rockledge, Florida. I'm the owner of Tron's Auto Towing. I've owned it since I was 17 years old, now 48, so tells you how long I've been in the business. I'm one of those ones that own those $1 million of equipment and suffering because of the lack of the fees having the proper adjustments over this time period. Also being stuck with not just cars, but the load out of a truck that I'm having to pay for, and never got a dime for paying employees for 16 hours working on the side of the road. So when you wake up in the morning, you're able to go to work with a clear highway versus why is the cars backed up? And one question, what's going on? So again, I've considered closing my business down due to losing money every year. My employees want more pay, and the way the rates that are being proposed, what are we supposed to do? Eat from a can and live in the truck? We can't do that. So consider having that workshop so we can all get on the same page and understand each other before going forward with any rates or changes. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Donald Franson. And after Donald, Carl, if you do want to come up.
Madam Chair, Commissioners. I own Brevard Towing, which is located in Merritt Island. Been in business for approximately 7 years, and I'm proud to work with these gentlemen. Everybody here, I can attest to, are fine, honorable, outstanding citizens that are trying to pay the bills, feed their family, and that's what we're trying to do. There is some rogue tow truck companies out there, but for the people that are here today, I can vouch for every one of them, they're not them. We're trying to make a business, and I'm proud to be in this business. And it's kind of ironic that we got a new chief today, because we work with the fire departments all the time. We're considered first responders. And if you look in statute, we're part of the first, people have to move out of the road for us. We're part of the statutes for first responders. And when we get there, I'm friends with a lot of firemen, friends with deputy sheriffs, because we work right next to them. So in reference to, you got bad, doctors, you got bad apples in every bushel. But for the people that are here today, they're honorable gentlemen. So moving forward with some clarity and some common sense, I think we do need to have a workshop. I think that's a great idea. I've talked to Mr. Tobias in length. I've talked to Mr. Lober in length. I haven't talked to Mr. Kurt Smith because I was told that he was working on something, and to let him work on what he's doing in reference to moving forward with a workshop. I do know several people in other counties, two of them which you have mentioned, Mr. Tobias, and with no disrespect, they're working on their rates too. The current resolution that we do currently use is actually a pretty good resolution. It's worked for us for now for how many years? Since 2008, and it's an in general resolution. And why I say that it's in general is a lot of it is time on scene. So what I want to specifically address was a normal tow, where you just drag it on a, just do a normal tow, is not the same as something that went in a river, something that rolled over in a gas station, something went through a parking lot. We had one in front of the high school that hit 3 cars, hit 2 telephone poles. So our current resolution does work because it's time on scene. And I think that's real common sense. When we pull up to an accident scene with the sheriff's office, they say, okay, the tow truck's here, they're 1098 here. And then when we leave, they say, okay, they're gone. So we get paid in reference to time on scene. I think that's a really good common sense direction in reference to our resolution now. In reference to those fees, I get there a lot of times and I need extra manpower. If a vehicle goes in the woods, I need someone else there to help me to pull it out of the woods. So in reference to those fees, there's a reason why those fees are there, because of situations that happen where you need an extra manpower, or you need extra time on scene, or you need a scuba diver to go down there and hook to it because it's in the water. So there's no way you can isolate one specific tow for one price. It's just not going to work. And the other thing I wanted to address with you guys is there's a difference between consensual and non-consensual. So in reference, sorry, thank you very much.
All right, Carl, did you want to speak? I hope it wasn't an angry customer whose car you're towing that did that to you.
20 years of doing towing, had to have surgery, so that's part of the game too.
All right,
small
state your
business,
name,
no
please.
insurance. CJ Chase, owner of C&L Towing, Titusville, Florida. I was here in 2008 and helped fight for the resolution that we have now. One of the things we were told in 2008 was that it would come up every year in front of y'all and it would be voted on, and y'all would either decide CPI or 3%. I was always under the impression it was coming up. Of course, we went through some slow time after 2008. We weren't getting our votes. I've been told since then that it's never been voted on. It's never come up. Why didn't the commissioners bring this up annually? Why didn't y'all say, hey, it's an annual time, we're supposed to be resolving this or reviewing this? That'd be one question I have for that. To Mr. Tobias' point there about other counties, I spoke with a buddy of mine that has a pretty large company in Volusia County, and what he explained to me, they have a set thing, 125. You get called out for a wreck, 125, you send a truck out. If that man needs a little extra oil dry because the motor blew, something happened, there's oil everywhere, he can't charge for that oil dry, but guess what he has to do? He has to call a second truck out there. So now you're paying $250 because you got to pay by the truck. So when we're just saying let's compare to other counties, we need to look at everything that's going on, not just look at the numbers. They're not happy with what's going on there. The towers aren't happy. This has come up as towers on the county rotation for Brevard County. We weren't even notified by the county that, hey, we're reviewing this. We'd like y'all to come in before it ever even come to this board. You know, we could have had a workshop. So here we are scrambling. I got with Ms. Pritchett last week about a day before my surgery. I was probably a little upset I was hurting, but I appreciate you. Bring me numbers. Well, I don't have time to get numbers in 5 days. We got together. We would like to workshop, but we want to be involved in the workshop. You know, as an attorney, if you use your paralegal, you bill for that paralegal, right? If I have to use additional people or additional things on an accident, then I need to bill for them. You got to bill for your nuts and your bolts to hang things on the wall. There's probably $20,000 worth of equipment on a heavy-duty truck that is all consumable. As you use it, it goes away. The winch cables, it's a safety feature. We have to replace them. The tow straps, the recovery straps, all the stuff that goes along with a business, it all has to be replaced. We talked about the price of a truck. I bought a truck probably July of last year. It was $105,000. We're talking 8 months ago, that same truck I just priced it, it's $142,000. We can't continue to do this. I made a remark to Ms. Pritchett, or Commissioner Pritchett the other day. What's going to happen is the county's going to wind up having to buy some tow trucks because you guys are going to put us out of business. We're not here. We're professionals. We want to make money, just like all of y'all. You want to make money. You're going to put us out of business. And then the county's going to have to buy the trucks, and you're going to have to fight back and forth about what got spent. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's it for public comment cards. Commissioner Lober?
I think at this point, between what I've heard from both sides of the equation and what I've heard up here from Commissioner Smith and Commissioner Tabaya, I got to tell you, I'm not ready to vote to do anything tonight. I am with Commissioner Smith in needing to dig into this some more. I think there's some things that may be quite reasonable in what's being proposed, but I just don't want to do this impulsively, and I think I need to have a little time to digest what we've heard this evening. So whatever's put up tonight, I'm not going to support. I'm sorry.
Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to summarize here. The ordinance that we're proposing would tighten up the regulations for our towers that would be in regulation, would be in line with FHP restrictions and requirements. We would also be examining state statutes because we've discovered that some of the things that we require aren't in the state statutes. And that's one of the things that I want to do. I want to make sure that whatever we propose as this ordinance, it's a state statute that we can legally do it and move forward with it and protect these guys as well as our constituents. For example, the site that these cars are towed to for the purpose of redemption of vehicles, if a tow truck company is open 7 days a week, they have to have ability to let you have that car within an hour of your requesting it. And they can't say, well, you have to come back on Monday because it's a weekend and add different more fees. So these are just a couple of the things. So what I'm proposing, to reiterate, is to work with BCSO, FHP, county staff, and some reps from the towing industry. We will be involving municipalities as well to create a plan for countywide towing oversight. This would be important because this would require current insurance, proof of insurance, background checks, licensing, business tax, proper equipment, annual record inspections, all things that aren't really being done now. So this would tighten up those things, and I think everybody would walk away, maybe not happy, but understanding that we work together to put this thing together. It would provide for disciplinary action for noncompliance. if a wrecker operator violated provisions of the wrecker rules. It would increase transparency for the consumers. As Ms. Sullivan said, there would be ways for people to be able to access how they can find their car. Somebody walks out of a movie theater and their car's gone. They want to know where it is. They're not having a good day. And they don't want somebody to say, well, yeah, I have your car and it's going to cost you $1 zillion. And of course, I'm exaggerating. But there would be protections there for these people and for the towing companies because, as they've pointed out, and I believe 100%, they're reputable people. They're business people. They have to worry about their bottom line, but as a business person, your bottom line is only solid as long as you're pleasing your customers. They're customer-oriented. So one of the things, and I saw several issues on the ordinance that Volusia County has, but one of the things I really like the idea of, and the sheriff does also, is putting these programs out to bid to the towing companies. And that would provide some funds for the BSO and the municipalities to cover their cost to make sure that they're following all these restrictions and, quite frankly, all of the compliance issues. So what I'm asking you guys to do is your blessing to go forward with this and to put these workshops together and come up with something that we can come back to you guys with that would be comprehensive. And then it would be up to us to make a decision on what parts of them we like, what parts we don't like, and that would include the towing fees as well. So I would like to make a motion that we pursue this with the BCSO, the municipalities, our county staff, and FHP.
Do you want to advertise that as a meeting?
I don't know that we need to.
Whatever you want, I just want to make sure we're on it.
Yeah, we're on it.
Okay.
Commissioner Pritchett?
I'm going to second for discussion. Commissioner Smith, I am thankful you brought this up. I think a workshop is a great idea. And as we do this, we can get more competitive costs because if we do bids, I think you covered a lot of categories. And, you know, there's also a maximum that the insurance companies will pay as well. So there's already some things in place that's interesting. I am thankful that the fellows that came up talked about consensual and unconsensual towing. So that's a big deal on my heart. It's like if you accidentally park somewhere you shouldn't, you didn't know, you don't find out it's $1,000 later getting your car. That gives me great heartburn. So if we're considering that, which it sounds like you guys are already compassionate to that, I appreciate that as well. So Commissioner Smith, I am going to support your motion with a second.
All right, you guys keep hitting your buttons and you keep switching orders because you uncheck yourself and then check yourself back in. So you are next, Commissioner Tabaya.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think we're getting oversight and fees completely mixed up here. My changes have nothing to do with oversight. I'm not necessarily against oversight. I'm concerned and I appreciate Commissioner Smith's concern for the towers. I'm concerned with the citizens. Commissioner Smith's first proposal had proposals, and it got a second. That's what scared me. Fees double in many cases. It had new fees. In fact, there's a new one in here that, and I appreciate the towers, how hard you work. I don't know that a new fee here goes up to $1,250 an hour. That's a $1,250 an hour fee that's not located in Seminole, Volusia, Orange, or Polk. Again, I don't care about oversight from the perspective of the resolution that I put forth 2 weeks ago where it was asked to be tabled here. Commissioner Pritchett had come up with a great idea that we match the lowest and do away with all the unique fees. I incorporated that in this. That was here 2 weeks ago. It hasn't changed. I have absolutely no idea where this oversight is going to go. I don't know if it means more regulation. I don't know if it means more manpower, and I'm open to any of that stuff. What I'm not open to is a whole slew of new fees. In fact, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 new fees here that Commissioner Smith brought forward, that everything from $30 to, here's a great one, $2,500. This is not good for taxpayers. Businesses are functioning. I pulled up towers in Brevard County. I came up with more than 20 of them. I pulled up towing companies in Seminole, Volusia, Orange, and Polk. They're surviving there. I'm looking out for the consumer here, and the first thing we have to do is not accept these exorbitant new fees. The second thing I think we need to do, again, this is fees, not oversight. I'm not necessarily against any of the oversight. I think that was a wonderful catch on your part. If our resolution or ordinance is in contradiction to state statute, I think that needs to be fixed. However, I'd like to take the fee aspect because it hasn't changed from last one. I bought in on the compromise of Commissioner Pritchett to make sure that we're competitive with the other counties that have been updated as recently as last year. So these aren't old ones here. I just would like to see the compromise there that, mind you, increases certain base rates. But what it does do away with all these crazy new fees. Actually, they're not in there yet, but make sure that they're not there. To point this out, some counties actually point out that extra fees are specifically not allowed. Volusia County, I believe, says that specifically they're not. Our R1 would add, again, more than 20 of them. So I understand the Towing Association has a strong lobby, and I appreciate that. But what I'm asking, and what I asked last time and thought it was going to be tabled here, and again, I'm not against oversight. I don't care if we have a workshop, but this hasn't changed since last meeting, and quite frankly, it hadn't changed from the meeting previous. I'd just like to see that, again, that the charges that are unique in Brevard County, in other words, Seminole County doesn't have it, Volusia County doesn't have it, Orange County doesn't have it, and Polk County doesn't have it, are gone away. And then look at the fees that we do have and make sure we're the lowest of any of them. Again, that was a spreadsheet that was handed out 4 weeks ago and then 2 weeks ago. So we did the work. We did the work in District 3 to compare these. The county attorney's office was very helpful. We keep on pushing this off. And again, I'm not against the oversight. I just want to be very clear that these are two separate things. Fees is one thing. Oversight is another. I don't want to keep on putting this back. I understand that this was, your intention to look at the fees, and I think it was a great idea. However, unfortunately, sticking it to the consumer, as many of these fees do, I don't think is in the right direction. So I would like to take that off the table and go with a compromise that was clearly discussed 4 weeks ago, and then again tabled 2 weeks, where again, and I'll say it again because I said it 4 weeks ago and I'm saying it again now, that the fees that are unique are done away with, and that we match the lowest of the 4 counties there, so we're in the ballpark. Again, if we need to revisit this when one of the other counties does it, I'm more than willing to do it. But at this point, we're many times higher than other counties are right now, neighboring counties are right now. So that is where I was 4 weeks ago when we decided to table it, and then 2 weeks ago when I said this has to come to an end when none of the numbers are changing, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Smith?
Well, I would add my fellow commissioner to my left here to pay attention to the rates that I've proposed tonight. They don't have anything to do with this, or very little. So, and I've said it numerous times, and I'll say it again, when we put this ordinance together, we can discuss fees at that time, and you will have your input, as will all the other commissioners. So we'll make this a comprehensive change. And the numbers here are in comparison to what they were in 2008, except as I've mentioned several times already, we've done and gone to the trouble of increasing them according to the agreement that was made back in 2008. If any of you disagree with that or any of these numbers, we can discuss it at the time when we propose this new ordinance. So again, my motion is to move forward with this, work with the different entities, come up with a comprehensive ordinance that we can be proud of and that we can confidently say we're protecting our business people as well as our consumers. I don't think that any of us are here to stick it to our constituents. I've never done anything to stick anything to my constituents. If you think I have, well, that's a matter of your perspective. So that's my motion.
Okay, I think we had a motion in a second.
Correct.
Already. So Commissioner Pritchett?
Yeah, I just want to say, Commissioner Tobias, I don't necessarily agree with some of your points. When the gentleman came in and said he didn't have time to get numbers together, and I think this will work out in a workshop, which I'm hoping will happen, is the dollar amount for the average tow of these categories and then compare it with other counties. That's going to be important to me. We should be getting a profit, but nobody knows what the profit margin is right now. So those are the things I'm going to be looking for coming out of a workshop. Your oversight is off the charts good, so I love that. So I am in for the workshop, looking forward to seeing what comes out of it, and I don't disagree with some of your numbers here, sir. I just don't have any data of how much the average tow costs for each of these categories. Nobody has been able to get that to me yet, so I know that'll come out of the workshop because they know I want it now. So thank you.
Commissioner Lober?
I was going to say, with respect to this, it sounds like what I'm hearing, and I apologize for being a little bit cut to the chase, but I think we were kind of going around in circles at this point. Commissioner Pritchett, Commissioner Smith, and I are not prepared to vote on this evening. So I don't know if someone wants to call the question or how you want to do this, but I think we're just going in circles at this point.
You can call the question.
Well, we have a motion and a second. Commissioner Tobias, your light was on. You want to wrap it up? And
Yeah, I'll be really quick. Commissioner Smith, I suggest you look at the handout. It mirrors exactly to the penny of the resolution that you just handed out, to the penny.
Except that there's no $1,200 or whatever you were talking about in this.
Okay, this is the one, Madam Chair, this is the one that Commissioner Smith handed out the last meeting. It has new charges, again, not mine, rotator 50 ton per hour, $1,250.
Well, and that rotator didn't exist when the original ordinance was created back in 2008. This is equipment that is needed.
Madam Chair,
so this is the kind of information that we can get through and bring to light when we have our workshop.
Madam Chair, but it did exist in 2021 when Seminole County updated theirs and decided not to update theirs.
Well, if we decide not to do it, then we will.
I'm not going to win this one, and clearly the taxpayers are going to lose this one, Madam Chair.
I don't think a taxpayer is going to pay for a rotator. That's for semi trucks.
They're owned by taxpayers.
They're owned by businesses.
Pay taxes.
okay, alrighty. So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 4-1. So we'll be seeing this again after some discussion, working with you guys, working with the sheriff, working with legal to make sure that not only consumers are protected, but that the rates are fair. And I'm not saying I'll support it the way it sits now as these rates. Some of them I obviously don't agree with myself. I just be patient. We'll get there. Okay. I don't know that we're going to have a workshop. It may just be them meeting with you guys. Well, it'll be on our agenda. Commissioner Smith?
What we've worked at so far, and it's subject to change, but it would consist of the different municipalities, BCSO, FHP, members of this board, and we'll certainly respond and take input from you guys. I already talked to Mike. So,
Most of us here at Lober, we follow specific Florida state statute guidelines. So everything you said is totally on target. Everything you said, I agree with, and I think
Okay.
everyone else agrees with.
Yeah,
So I
we'll
think a
revisit
workshop
it.
would be great.
We'll revisit it, and maybe part of the idea is to penalize the offenders, you know,
right,
so
exactly.
protect the guy in the
That's
back.
included.
Yeah. They come off the rotation list, they're fined, they're not given a business
Well,
license, whatever.
Yeah, I'm not going to beat it to death.
I know, we can keep talking about
Yeah.
this for another 6 hours. We're going to take a 7-minute break based on a request from another commissioner.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Thank you. At the February 22nd meeting, I proposed dissolving 4 existing Parks and Rec boards into a single new centrally located Brevard County Parks and Rec Advisory Board. However, based on the board discussion that ensued involving the compromise or alternatives brought up by D1, I have modified the proposal course of action to better address all concerns. The new proposal is to keep the North Brevard Commission and combine the South and Central boards into one. I have a map up here that all was in the packet as well as passed out. My office created this. As you can see, none of the members would have to drive more than 12 miles from where they're currently located. The North Brevard Commission currently meets in North Brevard Government Complex in Titusville. There would be no change there. The newly dubbed Central South Brevard, which consolidates Cocoa West Advisory Board, the Merritt Island, as well as South area, would also meet in the Vera at the Government Center. Additionally, parameters will be set to maximize efficiency and transparency without limiting constituent input. These will include, and were recently discussed at the last meeting, a limit of 4 meetings per year. All meetings to be held at county government facilities. The meetings will be held during normal business hours. An annual report will be required of each board to be published in a regular meeting agenda. Limits on staff time and expenditures. Staff time to be billed at $50 an hour with an annual CPI, and a cap of $3,000 for staff cost per year. Staff time shall be included but not limited to attending meetings, research, communications, and other tasks done on behalf of or in relation to a request made by a member of the advisory board. Finally, a sunset provision will be included so that every 4 years the board would have to evaluate the ongoing need and value of the advisory committee and determine whether to extend its existence. This cost saving would be approximately $6,000 annually without limiting any constituent access or input. The following motion, and it is lengthy, but would generate the necessary work product, which would come back to the board for a final vote. So all I'm asking on this motion is to send it to the county attorney's office. Should you be okay with these parameters for the county attorney to provide us for a work product, making that happen. That is the ask, Madam Chair, and I'm open to any questions.
Second.
Okay, I was second by Commissioner Lober. I have a card. Ms. Janice Scott.
Again, Janet Scott, Cocoa Beach. I serve on the Central, I thought it was a committee, but now I see it's a board. The website needs to be updated. But if you look at the map, you're asking an awful lot, I think, in this proposal. First of all, Brevard County is 75 miles long. So maybe what goes on for District 1, Commissioner Pritchett likes that, that'll be great for them. But the rest of the county, do you have any idea what's going on at the boat ramps and the beaches these days? And I'm not talking about spring break. I think there should be a review because I don't know how many citizens you're hearing from that use those facilities. But if you use some of the boat ramps in those parks, you can hardly get in there. Kelly West, it's chock-a-block. They come off the Beeline, go into that park, and the overflow goes over to the soccer fields with those trailers. So anyway, I personally think you are going to be restricting the people that serve on those boards, the volunteers, because, you know, for us coming from Cocoa Beach, we go to Kiwanis Island now, and the staff that goes there come from Cocoa. So we're like right there. You want us to drive 26, 30 miles to come over here to a meeting. So I just hope that you take a good look at how you are going to diminish your citizen volunteer pool to people who do not work, who can come here in the daytime, because the millennials, everybody, they work. If they want to serve on one of these boards, come here during the day. I don't know. Does their employer allow it? Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Lober?
I was going to say, with respect to that, I actually do have some concerns on the next item, not so much with this, but the real concern for me is trying to balance saving money with still keeping public input open. And I think part of what goes into the equation for me is when you look at the number of meetings, if you're asking folks to drive further, but you're asking them to do it less often, I think it's something that's potentially a little more livable. So I think coupled with reducing the frequency of the meetings, which would also save additional funds, if we do this, it seems to make some degree of sense as to this item. I think the next item may need a little bit of tweaking, but that's where I'm at with this one.
Commissioner Pritchett?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Tobias, I'm going to support this. I just have one question and see if you'd be willing to think through it, because I talked to the West Cocoa, and they're willing to meet during the daytime to almost cut the cost to zero is an option as well. But I will either support this, or if you are open to that thought, because I think that will get rid of pretty much all the costs for that, because they've been meeting in the evening, so there's been extra staff costs. So I think that will kind of take care of that situation with those costs. So just a thought.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Pritchett, I didn't quite understand that. You were not interested in dissolving the Cocoa West into the Central and South?
No, I still do that if you think it's a better option. I just wanted to throw out to you that the ones at the West Cocoa said that they would move to a daytime meeting as well. So they thought that might get the cost down to zero as an option.
Madam Chair, I chose Vieira as a central. However, my goal was to cut costs as much as possible on this one and maintain constituent access. I would be more than willing to change the Central and South to the Cocoa one. My goal is just to take the 4 down to 2. I thought Vieira was better situated in that triangle, but if you'd rather have it at the Cocoa West, I really don't care, because it's a government facility, and thus is no cost. So I'm good either way. My goal again is just to cut the number of meetings and cut the number of costs. Whether it meets in Vieira or Cocoa West, I honestly don't care.
Okay.
Commissioner Lober?
In all honesty, Commissioner Tobias, I'd rather see it meet in Cocoa West. So if there's an inclination from Commissioner Pritchett and you're okay with it, I think that's better, certainly for a lot of my constituents.
Okay, wonderful. That'll make that area right there a little bit more happier. And I think this is a good process, sir. Thank you.
Commissioner Smith?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just like to throw out there, maybe if we tried this for 6 months and revisit it and see if we still get people coming to the meetings at these different locations. In other words, if we find out that they're not coming to the meetings, and then it negates the purpose of having a group anyway, because then they're not showing up. So that would be my suggestion if we go forward with this.
Commissioner Lober?
Commissioner Smith, do you want to have staff at it back for 6 months just for us to revisit, or how do you want to ensure that happens? Because I don't mind what you're suggesting. I'm just trying to figure out the mechanism to ensure it actually happens.
Well, that probably would work too.
Okay.
Yeah, staff is there. I would just suggest that my input as far as that goes, I mean, asking people that live in the south area of Palm Bay to drive to West Cocoa for meetings is probably not a fair option if you're trying to make it more central. So I would allow the board to decide possibly where they want to hold their meetings, as long as they're in a inexpensive and public place. That's probably the best option. You know, as a board, they can come together, that central board, and decide. And maybe they trade off. You know, every once in a while they have a meeting down south, and I know the other boards have done that in the past. So I would just leave it up to the board as far as meeting location goes after the first meeting. Keep it in Vieira to start, and then have them go from there and take board input. That would be my recommendation. Commissioner Tobias?
Madam Chair, I think that's a great idea. It solves the issues of having them in those rotating locations. I have no problem if the Central South one does rotate, as long as it's at a government facility.
Great. So I'll look forward to seeing it back.
So, Madam Chair, can I make the motion that would direct staff to create
Make
this?
whatever motion.
Thanks. Madam Chair, and staff help with this because there's a lot of moving parts in here, and then I will add Commissioner Smith's idea of coming back with a report. So to authorize and direct staff to draft documents providing the consolidation of the Cocoa West Recreational Complex Advisory Committee, District 2, Merritt Island Beaches Recreational Advisory Board, and the Parks and Rec South Area Advisory Board into the, quote, Central South Commission on Parks and Recreation. As to the North Commission on Parks and Recreation, county staff participation shall be limited to a maximum of 4 meetings per year. The Central South Parks and Rec, the commission will meet at a maximum of 4 times per year quarterly. All meetings for the South Central will be held and I had here on the motion Vieira Government Complex. However, that'll be stricken to meeting at a government location, at a government facility. That would be either where Cocoa West currently meets, Vieira, or where the District 2 Merritt Island meets, rotating. These shall be required to annually submit a report of recommendations to be published in regular meeting minutes. A clause will be included in the county's rules for advisory board member term limits. Staff time will be billed at $50 per hour with an indexed annual CPI. Staff time billed during a single year shall not exceed $3,000. Staff time includes but is not limited to attendance of meetings, research, communication, any other task done on behalf or in relation to a request made by members of the board, and a sunset provision will be included, so the board will dissolve that for 4 years unless further action is taken by the Board of County Commissioners. And staff shall provide the board with a report after 6 months about attendance and participation of the new boards.
Okay, and I hope you'll give the clerk a copy of that motion so they don't have to listen to your voice 100 times
Sorry,
over.
Madam Chair.
All right, so I have a motion by Commissioner Tabaya.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right. Item I3.
You want to just move to approve it?
I'd like that, but I don't think it's the case. Chair?
Yes, sir.
This is libraries. And I have a great staff that did a similar map for everyone here, so you can see.
Thanks.
Okay. Again, at the February 22nd regular meeting, I laid out a plan and proposal that would dissolve the county library boards into one already existing, the Brevard County Library System Board, and withdraw the county participation from a majority of the city library boards. Based on the board discussion, however, it became apparent modifications need to be made to move the process forward. Like with parks, proposals being presented to the North Brevard Advisory Board, a Central South Brevard Library Advisory Board, and to keep the already existing Brevard County Library System Advisory Panel. My office created a map which depicts the locations and distances. As you can see, none of the members would be required to drive over 19 miles where the meetings are originally located. North Brevard Public Library Board will meet at the Port St. John Library Board, 6500 Carroll Avenue, Port St. John, which is centrally located between all 3 boards being dissolved. The South Central Brevard Library Advisory Board will meet at the West Melbourne Library, 2755 Wingate Boulevard, West Melbourne, which is also centrally located for all 3 boards being dissolved into the board of the county. And the Brevard County Library Advisory Board can continue to have floating meetings at different library locations, or even can meet centrally at the Vieira Government Center. Additionally, parameters will be set to maximize efficiencies and transparency without limiting constituent input. Those are exactly as discussed in the previous one, meetings, reports, staff time. To be clear, this motion will potentially reduce the 14 library boards originally listed down to 4. The cost savings will be about approximately $5,000 annually without limiting any constituent access or input. The following motion would generate, again, the necessary work product, which would come back to the board for a final vote once completed. If you thought the last motion was long, this one is much longer, but the map is there for everyone's perusal, so you can see the potential consolidation, Madam Chair.
Okay, deep breath. What's the commission's desire? Commissioner Pritchett?
I make a motion to approve it.
I have a motion by Commissioner Pritchett for approval.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Can I go ahead and read the motion real quickly? Yeah, I know you tried to. Okay, motion 1A to authorize and direct staff to draft documentation, provide the consolidation of the MIMS Scottsmore Public Advisory Board, Port St. John Public Library Advisory Board, Catherine Schwartzberg Root Central Library Advisory Board, so that they're dissolved into the North Brevard Public Library Advisory Board. 1B, to authorize and direct staff to draft documents to provide for the consolidation of the Suntree Vieira Public Library Advisory Board, West Melbourne Public Library Board, and South Mainland Public Library Board into the Central South Brevard Library System Advisory Board. All three remaining Central County Library Boards, North Brevard Public Library Advisory Board, Central and South Brevard Library Advisory Board, and the already existing Brevard County Library System Advisory Board will meet a maximum of 4 times per year. All meetings for the Central South will be held at the Vieira Government Complex during normal business hours. They shall be required annually to submit a written report and recommendation to be published in a regular meeting. The clause will be included in the county rules for advisory board member term limits. Staff time will be billed at $50 per hour with annual CPI. Staff time will be billed not to exceed 3,000. Staff time includes, but not limited to, attendance of meetings, research, communications, and any other task done on or behalf of or in relation to a request made by a member of the board, and a sunset provision will be included, so the boards will be dissolved after 4 years unless further action is taken by the Board of County Commissioners. 2A, to withdraw and cease county participation in the following boards: City of Cape Canaveral Library Board, City of Cocoa Beach Library Board, City of Palm Bay Library Board, City of Melbourne Library Board, and Satellite Beach Public Library Board. 2B, to authorize staff to draft documents, amend or rescinding resolution number 10141 from Melbourne Beach Library Board, so that the county can either consolidate or dissolve this board. That's everything I said, and relates directly to the map, Madam Chair.
All right, Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would request that if the board so chooses to add the 6-month stipulation with this as well. My concern is, especially with increased cost of gas, that people are going to say, well, you know, I don't want to get in my car and drive 19 miles one way or 15 miles one way, because most cars only get probably 18 to 20 miles to the gallon. So you're looking at somebody that has to spend 2 gallons of gas plus their time, which at current prices is like $8.50. So I would like to know if in 6 months we've lost people coming to these things. If they used to get 4 people and now they get 1 or 2, I think that would be something that we could consider
Madam
at a later
Chair.
date.
And
Yes.
I should have added that. I'm sorry, Commissioner Smith. I would amend my motion to include a staff report after 6 months about participation in the newly created boards.
Okay. Motion noted. Did you second, Stan? Yes. Did you second? Second by Commissioner Pritchett. Commissioner Lober?
Yeah, the only question I have, and I suppose this is either for staff or for Commissioner Tabaya, I have no problem with consolidating the boards that you've listed on the graphic that's actually up on the screen at this point. But I'm just wondering, has anyone reached out to the municipalities where we are now essentially talking about pulling out county support to see if they might be willing to pay for that support or what their thoughts are? Because that's the only part of this that I have heartburn with, but the rest of it makes perfect sense.
Commissioner Pritchett?
Yeah, I was going to mention our boards that we have up there. I talked to the head of the libraries about getting them involved with like friend groups, so they'll pick a representative that'll go to the board meetings, because I know the consistency of these boards are going to change as well. So like at the Scottsmore, they're still going to get together, plan their events, and then for the Sunshine Board, a representative from that will be up there, so it won't be the whole board traveling. It'll be one consolidated board.
Okay.
So as far as up there, I work through that because they're very passionate about their libraries up there. So.
Did you want to ask the director anything?
I think that's okay. And you know what? If we're going to revisit it in 6 months, I think it's okay. We can always fix anything that's unintended at that point.
I would just ask if you have concerns.
I just haven't talked to any of the cities per se.
Okay. I would just ask that you give us an email and let us know if you're getting a lot of pushback or the feedback's really negative, so we can revisit it if we need to.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you. All right. I have a motion on the floor in a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. And please, did you give the clerk your motion? Okay. Thank you. All right. Moving on to new business, item J1.
Do you want me to address it, or do you want staff to
I didn't know if
address it?
staff was going to.
However you want.
Good evening, Commissioners. Item J1 is legislative intent and permission to advertise amendments to Chapter 62, Article 10, Division 4, entitled Wetland Protection. You have a couple options for consideration. Option 1A is the either-or option. That's where if wetlands were high functioning or landscape level, they would come to you for a public interest determination. Right now, you're averaging about one of those a year. Option 1B, they would have to meet both criteria to come before you for a public interest determination. That would probably lower the amount of public interest determinations that you're seeing. We're happy to explore either or both or other direction.
All right, Commissioner Lober?
All right. As you all remember, this is something that I brought up and asked to have brought back by staff. I appreciate staff's efforts to do that, and I think they've given us a couple of good options. I have my inclination very strongly for one of them, but I think at this point, because it costs nothing more and we have to have this come back before us anyway, I would ask, and this would be a motion, to have them advertise it broadly enough that we keep both of the options listed by staff open so that when this comes back, we can discuss it and determine what it is that we want to do.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Lober. Do I have a second?
Madam Chair, can we hear from the...
Okay, I have one card for public comment. Ms. Sullivan?
South Patrick Shores. Over the years, I've come up and I've spoken about wetlands, and I'm passionate about it, having moved up here from South Florida and watched the filling in of the wetlands and the impacts down there. So I just want to read something real quick here. So the landscape level wetlands are defined as wetlands that either are 5 acres or larger, or located in a landscape level polygon, and Corps of Engineers determines the wetland is hydrologically connected to the St. John's or the lagoon. Wetlands are really important to clean up the water, and since we're trying to clean up the lagoon, the preservation of wetlands is exceedingly important. In the map that was in the packet, I just want to mention this. If you look up on the scientific literature and you search for resiliency plus wetlands, you'll see that wetlands are the key important, most important, effective in terms of protecting against impacts of hurricanes. We saw after Irma that a lot of our wetlands were under 3 feet of water for a considerable period of time. What I observed, and living in South Florida, is that with the filling in the wetlands, the water has to go somewhere, and so canals near where I live are much higher. Actually, people are selling and moving because of flooding issues. We've had this room packed at other times with people in areas where wetlands are being filled in, and properties that never flooded for 30 years were then flooding. So I really discourage the county to, with the increase of development pressure coming, to develop wetlands and to really define in more specific detail what is a public interest of filling in wetlands because of the long-term ramifications. You can't undo the damage they've done in South Florida. I'd hate to see Brevard go down the same road that Brevard went. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's all the cards I have. Commissioner Lober?
So again, I'll just reiterate the motion if folks want. I think we can keep both of the options open. We're going to have it come back anyway, so my motion, again, just to reiterate it, is to advertise it broadly enough that we can make use of either of the options laid out by staff in the agenda item.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Lober.
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right. Item J2. Commissioner Pritchett?
Yes, ma'am. This item is basically the same as the one that we did for our P cards. It's just the same kind of parameters as far as purchase orders, so that it has the same framework used for offices, no third-party transactions, bill folder. So I know you guys have had a chance to read it. So when you're ready, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Pritchett, second by Commissioner Lober. Commissioner Tobias?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Once again, it's great to have a CPA on the board. You found a way to add more sunshine into the system. I'm strongly going to support this. I encourage you to keep going forward with these ideas. I think they're not only good for the board, but they're good for the public. But I do want to point out I was first, and I snuck this on to the agenda at the last minute on F22. So thank you for getting my staff hard working for the last 2 or 3 days to compile all this documentation. But if you look at F22, from the time I took office, all purchase orders from District 3 are there and available from day one. Thank you for bringing this up.
Thank you, sir. And that means I will be following suit next meeting and piggybacking on that. And I've never had more compliments from you in an evening as of tonight. I'm kind of enjoying it.
Are you blushing?
I am.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item J4. Commissioner Lober?
Okay, I can go into depth about this, and we can hash it out to whatever degree need be, but I think we've already established a number of different times the deference aspect with respect to funds or items that pertain to one district exclusively. So I would move to approve this. If someone wants to discuss it, though, I'm happy to do that.
Which one?
Item J4. Okay, and I have a card. Did you want to speak first, Commissioner Pritchett, or you want me to call the card up? Okay, Jim Barfield? I should say former Commissioner Jim Barfield.
Former chairman.
Yeah, former chairman.
Commissioner.
Accountant, what's that?
Recovering county commissioner.
Recovering.
Jim Barfield, Rockledge, Florida. Nice to see all y'all. Madam Chair, my comments are in reference to the line item number 3 of the proposed independent audit. First off, I oppose putting that audit as part of, it's a taxpayer would be paying that. I think that does not need to be into this item. And this is why. First, based on the Florida Constitution, Article 5, Section 16, the clerk of courts is the auditor and custodian of all county funds. Our taxes already pay for the clerk's office to perform these functions. Basically, it's the clerk's job. Second, since our taxes should not fund this, if the District 2 Commissioner wants to make sure this audit is done, then he's welcome to pay for it out of his own personal funds. And third, and most importantly, the District 2 Commissioner has issued a veiled character attack on the County Commission Chairwoman and the Clerk of Courts. One reason cited to justify an additional audit is that the Chairwoman is friends with the Clerk of Courts, so the audit will not be impartial. Quite frankly, this statement disgusts me. Clearly, this is an attack on the character of the Chairwoman and the Clerk. I know these people. You know these people. These people know them. I may not always agree with them, which we know that's been the case, but I'll tell you this, I know their character. They are professional. They're professional and they're high integrity and dedicated to doing the right thing for this community, and they care about this community. But what needs to be understood is when you talk about friendships, friendships are built on mutual respect and character, not on divisiveness or illegal favors or any nefarious activities. Real friends trust and support each other to do the right thing. In conclusion, I ask that you remove that item from this thing. This does not need to be part of this. There's already going to be an audit. Doesn't need to be a part of it.
Who are being audited by those with whom they haven't spoken. When you have folks that have officiated the weddings of individuals that they're auditing, when they've gone on girls' outings and boys' outings, it's not to say that they won't do a fair audit. It's to say that it causes trust issues and transparency issues and accountability issues with the public. If they want to do their audit, they can do their audit. But the bottom line is these are general fund dollars at this point in time. It's an objective fact. I've spent the least of everyone up here out of the general fund. I have gone so substantially under the general fund allocations that, frankly, if I did this out of other general fund dollars based on my numerous underages, it wouldn't be an issue. So I can tell you, we have long since had the deference policy, and it's been very blatantly stated, and I know, you know, I can't tell you the order of the 10 Commandments, but I know one of the 10 Commandments is thou shalt not lie, and everyone has moved to allocate, or I should say at least a majority of the Board of County Commissioners has moved to allocate as requested by the other commissioners, and to do differently now would essentially amount to making your word worthless. I will tell you as well that having an auditor who says, well, it's my job to audit. It's a judge's job to adjudicate and to move cases on their docket from point A to conclusion. But when there are a slew of different issues that have been brought up, when you have a photo of one of the litigants in front of a judge with their cheek smushed against the other one's cheek, where one person's hair is touching the other, they're going to get off that case. When they're officiating their wedding, they're going to get off that case. They don't know the names of the kids of the litigants. They don't go to outings together. They don't do anything of that sort. So, you know, it's not a question in terms of anyone's integrity. It's a question in terms of what it looks like to the public and having the public have an ability to trust what the end product is. I can tell you the other concern is there is no auditor on staff in that office at this point in time. There's not one. There's not one. The answer is, well, there's an attorney. I'm an attorney. Guess what? They didn't have auditing classes in law school. I'm no more an auditor than an engineer is an auditor. The bottom line is this is money that was delegated to D2 to allocate. I believe that my constituents deserve to have transparency and accountability, have someone who's actually a professional auditor. Again, there are no professional auditors. There are no full-time auditors on staff at the clerk's office. An attorney's not an auditor at all. An impartial third party who can't call any of us friends, enemies, or frenemies to make sure that all the applicable policies, procedures, rules, laws, what have you, are followed, that have never had a meal with any of us, that don't have that degree of relationship. And it may be great in, you know, some podunk little town that everyone knows each other in, but the bottom line is we want a level of formality with something like this. So I'm not at this point trying to preclude the comptroller from doing whatever she wants to do, but this is separate and apart from that. And again, it's using the dollars that we have set aside for D2 to allocate with the express understanding that D2 would be able to allocate it. So unless someone wants to violate one of the 10 Commandments, I suggest that we do what we said we would do from the outset, unless we're going to have rules for thee and not for me.
Commissioner Pritchett?
I bet I could take you on with the Bible, but we won't go there right now. Commissioner Lober, I want to bring up some information here. And I mean, I've worked with you long enough, I get you. And I know when you feel like you get in a corner, some things happen. So I am going to grace those things. I have to say, I do agree with Commissioner Barfield's assessment as far as the character of these two women. They have great character. And there's times we don't agree up here, and many times we do. Commissioner Zonk and myself got in quite a few fights the first year, but it's just still us working for the good of the county. I do think the marriage license putting out was really below the belt, sir. I'm just going to tell you up front, didn't appreciate that one. I do want to say the reasons for audits are to give reasonable assurance that the financial statements are fairly presented. There's GASB that has other layers, the GASB, that we have to account for certain functions and certain things that we want to do as a government. They have to make sure that everything's done correctly, that all the money's handed out fairly, and we follow what the elected board sets forth with statutes. There has to be controls in place. Accounting 101, if you don't have internal controls, that's the first part you're going to get pinged on with anything you do. So these are the things that Rachel is probably more than capable of doing. And sir, my thought is if she comes back with no problem, there's just no problem, we're going to move on. If there is, I think that'll be this discussion at that time. My thought is I'm thinking they're going to come back with no problems. Again, I think the problem we have right now is the way this was done. I think when this commission voted through this, it was under the mind was that you were just going to do these things, put it through county staff, we were going to see them, and it just would have been pretty clear at that time, sir. I could be wrong, but I went back and looked at the conversation, and that's really what I thought we were doing. And again, did you break the law with it? Probably not, but it puts you in a place here of unseen consequences, and that's what we're dealing with right now a bit. So as far as the audit, I think it's something that we need to do because, again, I told you last time we were here that I couldn't even make an intelligent question or decision because nothing was in categories, don't know who it went to. And my big concern now is I don't know who has custody of these items. And sir, in all fairness, you ordered them, the buck stops with you. You know, you're going to have to find these, or find out where they are, or at least give us categories of where they are. And we talked about that last week, and you're going to get with finance, so I don't know what's going on with that. But that's something that we need to see. Legally, it's probably fine, but this is an absolute accounting nightmare right now. So I'm really interested in seeing what comes back, that we can locate these items, know what went to what entity, and what are the care funds. I do want to mention something, sir. You doing your office, absolutely. I think we had a $380,000 cap on the budget for the offices, and I think when I asked for information, you got like $41,000 of a leeway there. What I'm going to request is these things you want to do in your office, move it over to that budget and take it out of the CARES funds. I think that's a more appropriate use of it. I think you have plenty of money to do that. I think that's the appropriate place to allocate those items to. As far as improvements to your annex, you can just call up county facility and do those things. They'll do them. That doesn't even have to be part of the CARES budget or anything. Just call them up, say, I need this done, and they'll do those. I've had those done in my offices in the past. When I moved into the new one, we had to make some changes. So those are absolutely okay costs for you to do. I just think the way you're trying to get them done is causing a lot of confusion. So I'm going to ask, as you're doing this, and again, we ask that you get these items allocated. You didn't like the word encumber, but I really do. I really want, by the time you're done, these are put in the place they are. They have restrictions on them that it's the only place they can be spent, so we start getting them out to the community. As far as you buying stuff for your office, sir, you have a big budget to do it with. Go ahead and spend it within that. Get your receipts in, and you're within your $380,000 cap. I looked at it today for you just so you would know. There's plenty there, and I think a lot of this will get fixed. Again, my concern is I don't know where custody is. So, you know, honestly, we joked about the chair, but you know what? Buck stops with you. You're going to have to find that chair. You ordered it, and it's kind of on you. So you're going to have to kind of locate that or find someone who can find out who signed for it, because you know, that's just your thing, sir. And again, I appreciate that you're trying to work with this and get it done. So I'm hoping we can get this done as quickly and as painless as possible. But I'm not going to support an external audit at this time until Ms. Sandroff comes back with what she has, and then we can determine if something else needs to be done. I'm hoping it's just going to be done at that point.
Commissioner Lober?
A few thoughts. One, with you saying just call facilities and have them do it, it still has to be paid somewhere. The bottom line is, and I can go pull your quotes, but what you're saying now is totally inconsistent with what you said from the outset with respect to bring it back and we'll approve it.
No, if you would have brought it back at that time, if you would have brought these things back, so we're doing it, we'd have just voted. It would have been fine. I think your process here is not been a clean process, and
this
you know
is very
that.
Clean.
Well, you did it on the P card, and we had that thing last time.
We're talking about this particular motion.
Oh,
What's
I know,
unclean?
but it's made such a mess of this right now. So again, if you want to do the staff education training, I'm good. Infrastructure projects, I'm good. You can still do the improvements to your Merritt Island office. I'm fine with that too. You just don't have to use CARES funds.
So let me ask you, and it's not CARES funds, it's general fund dollars. You do realize that, right?
Yeah, but
As a CPA?
then do it under the, yes, I do, but do it under the other one and don't mix it up with this. You have community.
let me ask you.
Let me finish. You have community scrutiny right now coming at you, and I'm trying to help you get
You're
it. I think I am. I think if you get this in order here, people aren't going to be concerned with it looking like the CARES funds are put in a different direction. You've got the funds.
So that's your only concern?
No, sir. My concern is that this gets put in an appropriate place in appropriate accounts like it should have been before. And I'm not trying to jump on you. I know this is a tough thing for you to go through, but this is an absolute accounting mess right now.
This isn't.
It is. To do CARES funds for improvements Merritt Island Complex, who's going to coordinate
It's
that?
general fund dollars.
Well, just have facilities come do it.
Again, it's got to go through somewhere, and it's got to be paid. So who's going to coordinate it? It literally says on the item that you're commenting on, coordinated through facilities and/or central services.
Well,
That's pretty clear.
You can find other. I still say you can do it. I just don't think it should be CARES funds.
So it's okay to have one commissioner spend $200,000 of general fund dollars on rent, but I can't spend
Sir,
$20,000 on general fund dollars to improve a 1961 building?
Please go fix your building. It just doesn't need to be CARES fund. You have an
It's
ample
general
budget.
fund dollars.
It's still CARES fund that we divided up. You have a lot
So
of
we're going
budget
to
to
pretend
do
that
it.
that is its own thing, even though I have spent, again, far less than every single person sitting up here out of the general fund, and that's the actual source of the money.
I'm just telling you, it's going to be a whole lot cleaner.
Well, let me ask you, so let me see where Commissioner Smith and Tobias are before I start proposing creative solutions to things that don't need to be resolved. You know, I've always deferred to you guys in matters that pertain to your district, but frankly, if that's a one-way street, that dies.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Tobias.
I'm going to try to keep this, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to try to keep this as diplomatic as possible. I don't see that any of these expenditures are necessarily time sensitive. I think that it might be best to wait for the audit to come back. I can go over reasons why, but basically, should the audit come back clean, as Commissioner Pritchett suggests, and I have no reason to doubt, I am not in contact with any of these folks, then I don't think you or the people of your district or the county would like to see a $32,000 audit or even a $20,000 audit. Again, I have no idea on that. But I think it's best to take a step back. And this is my fault, to be 100% clear. I was the one that requested you to bring this forward. So I appreciate you following that. But I certainly would like to, I'd certainly like to take that back. The issue I had here was provision 6. When I served in the Florida House and we received a communications budget, it was expressly prohibited, rightly so, at certain times. Those certain times were ones that were in proximity to an election. And I don't think any intent was there at all, but this allows for $5,000 of printing and mailing costs. And again, I don't think there was any intent, but I can imagine your opponents are probably thinking that the county would be using dollars, whether they're CARES funds or whether they're general funds, sending mail out from an office discussing infrastructure updates or road maintenance, all that good nonsense. And I don't want to put you through that scrutiny. I think it was a good provision of
very generous.
Any more scrutiny. So I think it's best that we put a pause on this until we get some sort of resolution. The same way, in all honesty, and again, under investigation and audit are two totally different things. But for individuals that were under investigation, we said, we're not excluding you from this government assistance. We're just waiting till we get some sort of resolution. Again, I think that, and we did that on January 25th. I think you were in support of that. And again, you supported the resolution. And in all honesty, if that commandment, thou support the commissioner in that district, if you vote against it, most of my stuff doesn't pass anyway, in all honesty.
3-2 and it does.
Now more likely, I don't come here with any preconceived notions. It is going to pass, in all honesty, though I think it is good public policy. However, for those reasons, I'm not saying, to be clear, I cannot vote for the printing costs and the mailing costs.
That's fine. I can take that.
I can't vote for the audit because it may be redundant. In fact, I'm hearing from other people, it probably up here on the board, and I have no reason to agree, it's redundant. I think it may be better just to hold off. I think I read in the paper, that we're seeing this potentially in the end of the month. I don't know that we can mobilize any of this stuff sooner than that. But that's my 2 cents. That's my 2 cents on this stuff. It looks like, the improvement to the Merritt Island Service Annex. I've got, I don't have any concerns with that, and we'll probably strongly support that. Same with staff education, infrastructure projects. All that stuff sounds good. But again, I think holding off a month and none of this stuff is time sensitive, it's probably the wise way to go on that. That's my 2 cents. That's where I am right now. So when you're counting votes.
I've got a different question then, if I may.
Okay, Commissioner Lober.
So back in September of October last year, we had adopted policy under BCC 43. It's listed on the bottom of this agenda item, which states, I'm going to quote the pertinent part, each district office has discretion and approval over the line items within their budget. Do you guys just want to basically make that evaporate now that it's convenient to do that and we can have someone's buddy do an audit? Or can I spend my office budget toward having an audit? Is that not okay either? We really just don't want me to get a fair shake. That not okay? That a problem too?
Can I jump in?
Okay.
If you want to use your office budget for it, again, that's something you're allowed to do, but you're going to be, well, you'll be auditing yourself with them.
No, I'm going to have RSM do it. I'm going to pay RSM out of my office budget.
I think you've got like 41,000, but then if that whatever happens with, again, that's what we gave ourselves as budgets to do.
Yeah, I moved to authorize myself to use my office budget or a portion thereof to pay for an independent audit by RSM that complies with the items that are included
We have a motion on
herein.
the floor already for this item.
I didn't make that motion, I don't think.
I believe you did.
Did I?
Well, that would be him hiring out of his.
The item
Was there a motion at the beginning?
for this item. Yes.
Okay. I withdraw the prior motion. Okay, my new motion is to authorize me to use out of my office's $380 or thereabout $1,000 budget, a portion thereof to have an independent audit by RSM.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor by Commissioner Lober. Do I have a second?
I'll second. That's in his budget. If he wants to do it out of his office budget. It's what we have going, guys. So we're still doing the other one. But,
we can make up new rules too.
Well, it's you. Use your decision using it for what you got. Everybody knows about it. I don't know how not to do it.
Second by Commissioner Pritchett. Any further discussion on that? I mean, Commissioner Smith, I think, wants to talk about the item, and he's been waiting a bit, too.
Sorry.
Do you want to talk, or you want to just
Thank
finish?
you, Madam Chair. I think Commissioner Lober is in a position where he's looking for support, or I don't think he's looking for people to come down on him. I think we are all to blame because we allowed this whole thing to get started. And, if I had it to do over again, I wouldn't.
Yeah, you and me both.
I think we allowed you to do something that I know I didn't. I thought that it was going to be used and used quickly. I see by the newspaper you still have almost $500,000 that you haven't spent. Mm-hmm. And the purpose of that money was to help the community and the county get back on its feet. And here, a year later, it hasn't been spent. And you're using the reason that it's converted to just county funds as opposed to being CARES funds. Well, that may be technically, but all of this, from the perspective of the people that call my office and call me individually, just generally saying, it just doesn't smell good. It doesn't look good. And Commissioner Pritchett has said that you've done it to yourself. I think we did it to ourselves and to you. We can't walk that back, so now where do we go from here? I don't know, but I know that I wouldn't support, and Commissioner Pritchett says that we should be able to allow you to spend that money for a separate audit. I don't agree. I think that you see what the audit, we already have an audit in place. If you question the participants of their character, honesty, whatever, you'll have that opportunity if it does in fact come back negatively on you.
It doesn't matter to me whether it's positive or negative.
Well, I'm just saying that you can put all this to rest if it comes back and she says that there haven't been any laws broken, then you're good. If you're not happy with that, then you have to face the fact that you're going to have to get an independent audit if you're not happy with what she says. If she says you made some honest mistakes, or you made bad mistakes, or you're absolutely home free, let's wait and see what's going to happen. I get that you're concerned about it. You're talking about your character. People are talking about your character. But just don't jump to the gun that everybody's pointing fingers at you, that you're some kind of guilty person. So that's my 2 cents worth.
All right, Commissioner Tobias.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I don't know, do we even need a motion in order for him? I don't think we need a motion.
I want to be totally clear, though.
I don't want to make a motion.
Yeah, and I don't know. Here's the question I would have, because I imagine you're going to hear it. I'm not the first person to bring it up, but I wanted to lay the numbers out and see how you'd handle this. Listen, I'm not here to impugn anyone, I think, even slightly. But RSM has a contract with the county that we vote on. It's approximately averages about $360,000 a year. In other words, the last one was 3 years. It was over $1 million. Can you tell me how you would handle that perceived bias of them being completely impartial if their contract comes up next year or the year after and they stand to make $1 million, potentially $1 million off a contract and coming back?
It goes to RFP. I don't have anything to do with that. Staff selects it, as they did in 2019 most recently.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I understand it goes to RFP. I understand. How would you handle that? Let me ask you, if it comes back negative, understand the clerk hasn't even come back with any result, and we have issues with the way it's done. My question is, what happens with potential? I don't know. What happens if RSM comes back with a negative? Will that have any?
Then that's my own doing.
No. Would that have any impact on you voting to approve or not approve their next contract?
As long as they have an accurate report, I'm not going to have any involvement in terms of denying or changing a vote based on that.
Then why, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Why would you have an issue with the clerk if she comes back with an accurate report?
Do you really want me to go through all that? I can do it.
I think he already has.
Okay.
He has the issue because of friendships. I'm just going to read this, and I'm going to interrupt you for a second,
Sorry,
Commissioner Tobias.
I'm done, Madam Chair.
We have, the 6-page memo that went out that Commissioner Lober thought that it was Mr. Burns that had done the public records request, where he clearly states in here, if anyone has questions regarding the legality of any of the county expense, I encourage that individual to contact our comptroller, whose job it is to audit expenses prior to issuing checks and payment for those expenses. Unless there's some grand and elaborate conspiracy in which our duly elected comptroller is involved, there's no reason she cannot handle questions which fall within the explicit purview of her office.
Right.
Let me talk, please. So, as far as whether or not I'm friends with the clerk of courts, I'm also friends with former Commissioner Jim Barfield, who I saw at an event Saturday, who I know we took a selfie that night, and there's pictures of us as well. The evening of that keeps being talked about, the selfie that someone took from our Facebook, was an event that multiple women were invited to, including our supervisor of election, our property appraiser, who had a graduation This Lisa Cullen was invited as well, who was out of town. I mean, multiple people were invited, but were being crucified because we went to Painting with a Twist. And I will never say I'm not Ms. Sadoff's friend. I am her friend, but she's the elected comptroller. She's accountable to everybody that she is elected by. She works with an auditing team to suggest that this board, including Mr. Lober, who voted for the audit, the comptroller to audit, to suggest that she's somehow unethical because she's my friend. I don't have a vendetta against Commissioner Lober. I don't know why this was even an issue until he asked her to be removed, and I saw that email. I'm friends with a lot of people, and to say that she somehow would do something unethical because she's got a vendetta or there's a conspiracy. I didn't make those purchases on Commissioner Lober's P card. If they're all on the up and up and he can account for all his stuff, then he's got nothing to worry about with the audit. I have no control over that. And I think having a county contracted special auditor, now we're going to expend another $32,000. I'm not going to support that. You know, out of his budget or any, I think because these items are in question and because it just reflects poorly on the whole board. I mean, it's all of us that get crucified for this. All of our expenses are under audit by the comptroller, all of our offices, and we all supported it. So I'm not going to support this.
Shocking.
And I'm sure the fifth grader down the way has some more to say, but I'm not going to support this the way it stands because honestly, at this point, I don't trust where these funds are going to go. So I would make the recommendation that until the audit is complete, and if there's questions on the audit, I'm happy to revisit an independent auditor, but I don't want to use our county's contracted auditor that's paid for by the county. I think that puts the county in a bad spot as well. We could put that out to RFP if need be, but.
May I? Or do you just need to have the last word?
I don't need to have the last word. I hadn't had a chance to even speak.
Okay, well, that comes with being chair, typically. But my fifth grade education from a top 100 law school.
Well, and I also want to make a note. You know, I get criticized because my office has rent. You know, that, like I said, the former county manager found the property that's central to the district because the sheriff needed the location where I had my small office. 3 commissioners up here have to pay rent for their facilities because there is no more government facilities to house our offices. So I just wanted that for the record as well. I don't know why that keeps getting thrown as a shot at District 5. There's 3 of us up here that have to pay rent. And we went through the whole process, and I'm sure county staff can vouch for that. I'm trying to find the cheapest and most central, easiest location for my entire district. So, Commissioner Pritchett.
Thank you, ma'am. You know, sometimes you can get so deep in certain things that you throw out that nobody wins a battle. And I think we got to focus back on this again and get the personal stuff out of it and try to remember that my grandchildren are watching us, and I'm hoping we're putting forth a good effort here that they're thinking we're grown-ups up here. So I just want to throw that out. Commissioner Lober, I got the numbers. You have $44,688 in your budget that you can still spend, not to go over your cap, sir. So I agree with Commissioner Tobias. That's not something we have to vote on. It's something that you've got those funds. You can use them at your discretion, of course. But I was just want to tell you, even with these things here, you've always had this here to do this. And so, you know, you do have an ability to do that with stuff. No problem with it at all. So I'm not telling you any of the stuff you can't do. I'm just thinking of a different route to do them, sir. And so that was my thought on all that. But I really, guys, I'm just over the mudslinging, and let's get back on track. And it's just really enough. I'm done. I'm 62 years old, and I am not doing this.
I agree. Commissioner Lober?
I've got a 94-year-old, soon to be 95 if she lives long enough, year-old grandmother in the hospital right now, and I'm really on a short fuse as well. So I'm with you, and I don't appreciate the games, and I don't appreciate double standards, hypocrisy, or rules for thee but not for me, as we've seen this evening. As far as the auditing team, I guess we could call you an auditor, we can call you an auditor, we can call you an auditor. Now you're a team, you're an auditing team. Oh, guess what? None of you are auditors, not one of you.
Well, you call me an auditor, except I'm not independent. But this is, if you want to do this, you can, and it's all done. You've got what you want it to do.
I didn't get what I wanted to do.
You can do that. You can do it if you want to. But I think Commissioner Tobias' idea is, if nothing else, I'm going to table this for a week because this has gotten too emotional. And I've learned when you lose your emotions, you lose, and nobody's going to win here. And I'm wanting the Brevard County citizens, I know that sounds like a newspaper headline, but it's the truth. I really want to calm this down and get the best thing going here. And I don't want to get pulled into all this drama. I really don't. I just want to get this fixed and move forward.
May I?
Sure.
Okay, a few other things since they were brought up, and I will try to be nice about them. As far as voting for the audit with the comptroller, yes, I did, and that was a mistake. But I don't have a crystal ball, and I didn't know the information that was going to be sent to me that articulated the level of the friendship and the fact that the marriage was officiated by an individual who's performing the audit of one of the individuals being audited. To suggest that you have an individual who's gone months without speaking with me, regardless of whose decision that was, mine or hers, that's an appropriate individual to do audits. In this business, if I have nothing to hide, I'm asking for another audit, a second audit over and above the first. If I had something to hide, that would be a moronic thing to do. I'm saying let's do two, not one, two. But God forbid I get a fair shake by someone who isn't a crony or a buddy. That's so despicable, isn't it? So again, I have to ask Mr. Abate, can I spend the money out of my office's budget to get the audit? Because I know they're going to have a new standard that doesn't keep with what the existing policy was that this very board approved in full.
The board approved a policy that said you can spend any part of the 380 for a variety of items, including compensation, benefits, travel, office supplies, telephones, memberships, capital outlay, and other administrative costs. So if you determine that it's under administrative costs, then that's within what that directive provides for under the board's policy.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to table the rest of the item. I think Commissioner Pritchett raised a valid point with respect to doing things on high emotion. I'm going to revisit this at the next meeting. Motion withdrawn.
Okay, so I have a withdrawn motion. All right. Moving on to public comments. Janice Scott. Oh, she passes. Ms. Sullivan. After Ms. Sullivan, Robert Klimkowski.
Sandra Sullivan, South Patrick Shores. So I just want to revisit a comment from a previous meeting on the Budget Review Committee and the effectiveness of that committee, and I encourage transparency and accountability with that board. In one of the reports that they gave to the commission, they recommended 600 retirees be removed from county health care insurance. It saved those employees, those former employees, money, and it saved $3.5 million in 1 year alone and $70 million over 20 years. So I think that board has been very effective. Pertaining to audit controls, just as an audit would flag a company that allowed their accounts payable staff who prints checks to sign checks, so too is it inappropriate to have a person directing a program from its direction to ranking grants to selecting consulting companies. I've been digging into records, and I'll be sending out an email of some significant concerns of conflicts of interest that I have pertaining to Sorrel. I also will be sending out an email dated Monday, March 29th, 2021, from Dwayne DeFries to the Director of Natural Resources, in which he talks about this article causes much concern and many questions the issue of glyphosate and other herbicides used for aquatic weed control are not being adequately addressed. With the amount of glyphosate and other herbicides that are being applied in Florida on residential properties, in stormwater ponds and stormwater conveyances along the IRL tributary shorelines, it's no surprise we see bioaccumulation. It goes on and on a bit more. He references 3 reports. He says, unfortunately, there's a lack of data on glyphosate and the IRL. And he says, 3 research papers that keep me up at night are attached. 1, impacts to seagrass. 2, impacts to microalgae cyanobacteria growth. And 3, persistence in seawater. Part of what came up in that meeting, the last Say the Lagoon meeting, and why I came to a couple of meetings asking for some redirection on the soil plan was because of research, and that this plan only addresses nutrient loading and not other pollutants. Other members of the COC brought up issues, of 3 members actually, that were not addressed, either redirected or just passive, resistant, ignored, and hence the question why and why we're digging into this. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Robert Klimkowski. I said that correctly, right?
Yes. Okay. Robert Klimkowski, Melbourne, Florida, 7667 North Wickham Road. All right, good evening, everyone. I come here today to talk and piggyback off of Ms. Sullivan. 2020 Brevard County audit for the Sorrel. That needs to be done. Number 2, Brevard County Fire Rescue, the BCFR audit. Per the legal minutes of 4/20 last year, there was a motion and it was adopted for a BCFR audit for this cycle of auditing that needs to be completed. And then number 3, RSM audit of CARES funds for P-card purchases. I did see that some of the commissioners did put their P-card purchases in this agenda, the meeting agenda package. So I saw that. I saw, I think, a lot of items on there. But then again, if you're putting your own items on there, then couldn't you take some out, or do you have to put all your items on there? So I think that an audit of all of the P-card purchases through RSM would be, at this point, warranted. I do not think that a comptroller audit of Commissioner Lober's P-card purchases is valid, just because at what level does that rise, right? So say, like he said, if a judge has a conflict of interest with somebody and they're cheek to cheek, or if they were officiator of the wedding, or if they were close friends, is it that it's their wife that's going to be a conflict of interest? Is it that it's their uncle? At what point does it rise that it is a conflict of interest? So I'm just wondering if it's not this, if it's not that, you might have a friend that's the comptroller, then what is it? When is it a conflict of interest? And I just like to know that. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Thank you. All right, moving on to board reports. Mr. Vate?
No report.
Ms. Joranby?
No report.
Ms. Pritchett?
No report.
Mr. Lober?
Discretion is the better part of valor.
Mr. Tabaya?
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple things real quickly.
No, John, don't do it.
Oh, no, these are, no, I don't know if we'll have any pushback here. While we are revisiting non-mandatory advisory boards, I'd like to discuss a few other items and suggestions here. My goal was to create some sort of uniformity throughout these boards. Apparently, there's a new advisory board website that's being developed. In fact, quite a few steps have been taken for transparency information. Staff has done a great job. My goal is to make it as uniform as possible. This will look at such issues as attendance, amounts, locations of meetings, production of a work product, cap of expenditures, and even what was brought up today by Commissioner Lober, financial disclosures that I think can even be itemized or increased. So I'll be coming back with some guidelines, so hopefully staff has more tools to work with, some sort of uniform policy when setting up that website for the public. And second of all, I know I was absent during the budget workshop. I apologize. I understand raises for staff were mentioned, though apparently not voted on, working with a 3% or $1 an hour increase. The way that the county measures CPI, that is 4.7%. So I certainly would like to look at that. And then more information came out today, which I'm passing out here. The state is just agreed upon yesterday in conference on a pay raise for state employees of 5.38%. I think these are good measures. We're short on staff, and I do realize this means extra dollars. I've made a commitment not to vote for a tax increase or bust the cap. So I certainly would like to look at these alternatives so we can at least match the state or CPI, because quite frankly, we'll be competing with these folks. Again, I will give you some suggestions because it's completely unfair to ask for more money and not make suggestions of where we need to cut. But I just want you to be aware of when 3% is not a pay increase when CPI is 50% higher than that. And again, the state almost double of the increase of what we're looking at. So something to be aware of. Again, I apologize for my absence, but please be aware of those alternative numbers. We have a great staff, and we want to keep them.
We put you on a few boards while you were gone, by the way.
We did. Commissioner Smith?
No report.
And I don't have anything to add. Meeting adjourned.
The opinions expressed by any member of the public during any period of public comment do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, or the program sponsor, and are solely those of the presenter. The Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, and the program sponsor hereby expressly disclaim any and all responsibility or liability for any defamatory or slanderous statements expressed by any member of the public during any such period.
Representative Geller, you're recognized.